Part 13. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 121. These three black streams of light were extremely fast. The moment Rorschach saw them, they had already arrived in front of Rorschach and launched an attack. Laugh. The air exploded. The black robot rushing at the front smashed its fist directly at Rorschach. Rorschach leaned back slightly, causing the robot's fist to graze the chin. Then, he kicked the robot with his right foot. Boom. The robot was kicked away and hit the alloy wall behind. Before Rorschach could take a breath, the remaining two robots attacked him. Depend on. Rorschach cursed loudly and was about to take out the red mixed copper mother and destroy these robots when Babada's voice suddenly sounded. Rorschach, don't break these robots. They're great things. You hold them back, and I'll take control of them. Hearing this, Luoxia could only put away the red mixed copper mother, activated the kamikaze legs, and the speed sword, entangled with these robots. The robot that was kicked away by Rorschach also flew back. Three robots surrounded him. These robots' attacks are strong and fast. Their attacks have almost no flaws, like a storm, dense and rapid. The air was rippled. But Rorschach's speed was too fast, and his movement skills were also improved to an unfathomable level. With the blessing of kamikaze legs, he could easily dodge the attacks of these three robots without even opening the field. Viewed from Babada's perspective, I saw four streams of light chasing and entangled in the alloy channel. However, no matter how those three people attacked, Rorschach could always dodge cleverly. All right. Rorschach, who was dodging a robot attack, suddenly heard Babada's words, and then he saw the robot that was about to attack him stop. Babada's proud voice sounded, I have taken control of them. Rorschach knocked on the statue-like black robot and asked Babada, what kind of good thing is this robot? They're not very intelligent. Babada explained, they are not very powerful, but their whole bodies are made of black yttrium metal, which is extremely tough and expensive. If you enter the universe in the future, if you run out of money, you can sell them. What grade of metal is uranium metal? Sea level. Sea level, no wonder it feels hard when you hit it. Luoxia touched his fist and said. Babada smiled and said, okay, let's move on. There is the command room in front of us. Rorschach walked forward, and three black robots followed him obediently, like bodyguards. This thing can be kept at home to protect my parents. Rorschach said. Babada nodded, indeed, with these three robots here, almost no one on Earth can harm you and Luo Feng's family. They were talking, and a beautifully carved silver door appeared in front of them. This is the command room, Babada said. Luoxia stepped forward and pushed open the silver door with a little force. The moment the door opened, a weak air convection formed between the command room and the outside world. For a moment, a breeze blew in the command room. Rorschach saw a soldier sitting on the seat in the center of the command room, and behind him stood three guards in black uniforms. Call. A gentle breeze blew. The soldier on the seat immediately turned into powder like dust, and his military uniform also turned into dust, which was scattered on the floor in the breeze. The three uniformed guards were fine. Only their clothes turned into dust, revealing their nearly naked bodies. One of them is still a woman. Luoxia glanced at it, and then looked at it again. After a while, he turned his head and muttered, see no evil, see no evil. What a good thing, Babada's happy voice sounded in the empty command room. She flew to the side of the three guards and said with a smile, this is a good thing. Rorschach was confused, good thing? Are they not human? Of course not. Although they look like real people, they are actually a special product called liquid silver guard. Babada explained to Rorschach, the main material used in this liquid silver guard is liquid silver metal, which is more precious than yttrium metal. It contains an intelligent system. It can speak and act independently like a real person. And because of the special material, their bodies can easily absorb a large amount of impact when they are attacked, so they are very good bodyguards. They are very popular with some big figures in the universe. At this time, the image of a green-haired woman suddenly appeared on the console screen, staring at Luoxia and making a sound. "Intruder, get out of here immediately." She speaks the universal language. But because Rorschach learned the universal language with Babida, he can now understand her words without the need for Babida to translate. At this time, Babida took out something that looked like a laptop memory stick from the storage space and said to Rorschach, "This is the annunciator. You plug it into the green slot on the left side of the console. Don't worry about the nonsense about the intelligence of the spacecraft. It's not even considered an intelligent life. It will only take orders from the original owner of the spacecraft, and you can't communicate with her. After you plug the signal device in, I'll start conquering it." Rorschach took the signal device and followed Babida's instructions to find the green slot. Under the frightened and angry gaze of the green-haired woman, Rorschach inserted the signal device. "Haha, look at me, Rorschach, this intelligent system is pretty good, but I can conquer it within 30 minutes. From now on, this Black Dragon spacecraft will be ours." After the signal device was plugged in, Babida began to invade with all his strength. Do. Warning. The system is under attack. Please enter your password within 30 seconds. Otherwise, the self-destruction program will be activated. 30. 29. Rorschach's expression changed. "Babida. Over there," Babida panicked, "this is troublesome, there is a self-destruct program. Even the strongest intelligence in the universe cannot conquer the intelligent system of such a spacecraft in 30 seconds. What should I do now?" Rorschach asked. "If you can't solve it, I'm going to run away." As he spoke, the spacecraft's intelligent system was still counting down. 21. 20. The cold universal language echoed in the command room, accompanied by the nervous beeping warning sound, which made people even more upset. 18. 17. "Hey, Babida, is there anything I can do?" "If there's no way, I'll run away," Rorschach said. He was sure that he could run out of ruin number 12 within 15 seconds, but if the time was only 10 seconds, that would be a bit of a limit. "There is nothing we can do," Babida said with a look of helplessness. As she finished speaking, there was a sudden harsh sound from the console, a large number of characters appeared on the screen, and then amidst the sizzling sound, sparks appeared on a large number of buttons on the console. "This seems to be a signal." Next, the voice of the intelligent system in the console became stuttering and dry. Then a large number of electric sparks appeared everywhere in the spacecraft. Bang! In a loud explosion, the entire spacecraft plunged into darkness. All voices fell silent. Rorschach, who was about to run away, looked towards Babida and asked, "Babida, what did you do?" Babida said, "This Helongshan X-81 spacecraft was set by its original owner. If there is an external signal to overcome the intelligent system of the spacecraft, it will start the self-destruction program, and it will not stop unless a password is entered within 30 seconds. It's self-destructing. However, with the intelligence of the Helongshan X-81 spacecraft, it is impossible to conquer it in 30 seconds. Therefore, I can only use overwhelming traffic to destroy the intelligence of this spacecraft in an instant. This was a barbaric destruction, so as a result, you see, now the entire spacecraft control system and many transmission systems may be damaged." In the darkness, Luoxia blinked, "So, this Black Dragon Mountain X-81 is scrapped." "Ah. Babida, of course not. Just a little joke." Babida smiled. "Although its control system and transmission system are broken, the damage is not complete. I can repair it. As long as it is repaired, This Helongshan X-81 can still travel through the universe. Hearing this, Luo Xia breathed a sigh of relief and asked, how long will it take to repair it? Let me calculate, if it is just a trip to Mars, Helongshan X-81 can be used again in a month. Babata said. When Rorschach heard this, he knew that the damage to Black Dragon Mountain X-81 was much more serious than what Babata said. But Rorschach didn't mean to blame Babata. After all, if Babata doesn't destroy the ship's intelligent systems, the ship will self-destruct. By then, he won't even be able to get a hair out of it. I will take care of the repair of the spacecraft later. Now let's get out of here. Babata said, clapping his hands. She glanced at the relics left by the soldiers and said, by the way, the relics left by the owner of this spaceship should be pretty good. After all, he is the guy who can buy the Black Dragon Mountain X-81 and the Liuyan Guard. Remember to take the relics he left behind when you leave later. Yes, I understand, Luo Xia responded, looked at the 3 liquid silver guards, and asked, what should I do with these 3 liquid silver guards? Their energy is exhausted, and I don't know if the energy crystal blocks I have in stock match. Babata stretched out his hand and put the 3 liquid silver guards into the storage space. I'll put them away first and repair them to see if they can be used again. Rorschach also put the rings, weapons and other relics left by the officer into the storage space. After doing this, Rorschach took Babata and left the Black Dragon Mountain X-81 spacecraft. After arriving outside the spacecraft, Babata put the spacecraft into the storage space. Rorschach did not continue to go deeper into ruin number 12, and directly we left ruin number 12 with Babata. Kiri's Hima. Luo Feng was moving the body of the golden horned giant beast. His wings flapped slightly, and the huge body immediately turned into a black and golden light, shooting out. The earth was torn apart by the violent winds he brought up. Big trees and plants were blown to and fro by the strong wind he brought along. In an instant, he flew from the center of the island to the sky above the lake. Hold head high. A huge fish monster jumped out of the lake, opened its ferocious mouth, exposed its sharp teeth, and bit into Luo Feng. It is 40 to 50 meters long and has the strength of a senior lord. Luo Feng's dark golden eyes were cold, and his wings covered with black scales did not move at all. He had already turned into a beam of light and shot out. With a hissing sound, the belly of the fish was scratched by the right claw of the golden horned beast. Puff! Blood and internal organs flowed out from the cut belly. Luo Feng did not even look at the dead monster, and flew directly back to the fog island. Is this the golden horned beast? It was just born, but its strength has surpassed most monsters. Its speed, strength, defense, are not something that monsters on Earth can contend with. Just like Babata said, if Luo Xia had not discovered it and let it grow up, it would definitely become a disaster for mankind. Luo Feng muttered to himself in his heart, feeling the power of the golden horned beast. Huh! At this time, a stream of black and purple light flew from a distance and came to Luo Feng's side in the blink of an eye. Xiao Xia, you are back. How is it? Is there a spaceship in the number 12 ruins? Luo Feng looked at Luo Xia and asked with consciousness. Luo Xia and Luo Feng landed together at the place where they were stationed before. He turned the black god suit into a wristband, revealing his face, and smiled at Luo Feng. We are very lucky. We found a Black Dragon Mountain X-81 there. Luo Feng was at a loss. Black Dragon Mountain X-81. Babata, you come and explain to my brother. Luo Xia called out the Babata in the wristband. It is a spaceship. Babata explained. It didn't take long for Luo Feng to understand. I didn't expect that there would be a mothership of the interstellar fleet in such a deep sea bed. And on the mothership, there are extremely precious and rare space adventure spaceships. He was very impressed by the good luck of Luo Xia and Babata. Finally, Luo Feng said, since the spaceship will not be repaired until a month later, I will practice on this island in the next period of time. As for home and Su Xin, I will leave it to you, Xiao Xia. The last sentence was said to his younger brother Luo Xia. In the next period of time, Luo Feng took the time to practice on the Fog Island. After changing into the body of the golden horned beast, his practice speed increased rapidly. After swallowing 2 Mui crystals, he was promoted from the first planetary level to the second planetary level. As for Luo Xia, he had to go home occasionally. When he had time, he would call and greet his elder brother and his sister-in-law Su Xian. Soon, a month passed quietly. Babata barely repaired the Black Dragon Mountain X-81, and it could at least fly at sublight speed. Luo Xia bid farewell to his elder brother who was practicing and flew to Mars. He flew to an altitude of about 8,000 meters in one breath, then stopped and said to Babata, "Babata, you can get the spacecraft out. By the way, remember to make the spacecraft invisible, so that it will not be discovered by satellites." Babata smiled and said, "Don't worry, the first-class spacecraft of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire will become a big joke if it is discovered by your Earth." After she finished speaking, a huge flying saucer-shaped spacecraft also appeared next to Luo Xia. Beep. The outer door opened, and Rorschach flew into it. At this time, the laser channel would not be activated. He quickly followed the laser channel, passed through the wide-open gate, and entered the interior of the spacecraft. In the command room of Helongshan X-81. With Rorschach's arrival, Babata's proud and crisp voice rang out. "Rorschach, the devil Babata is at your service." Then, Babata's head appeared on the screen of the console. Rorschach was still a little skeptical. While checking the surrounding situation, he asked, "Babata, are you sure this spaceship can really fly? You know, a month ago, all kinds of sparks broke out in the command room of this spaceship. It's really hard to believe that Babata can completely repair it in such a short time." Babata seemed a little angry at Rorschach's doubt, and snorted. "Of course it can fly. I am the devil Babata. Although some parts have not been repaired and cannot be used for long-distance space travel, it is more than enough to go to Mars. Okay. It's okay to be able to go back and forth to Mars." Rorschach apologized and coaxed Babata for a while before making Babata happy. Seeing that Babata's face was smiling again, Rorschach felt funny in his heart, but his face was serious, like the captain of a spaceship in a science fiction movie, and said to Babata, "Then, Babata, let's go." Babata seemed to get the role that Rorschach was playing at this time. He smiled and shouted, "Yes, Captain." Buzz. The spacecraft made a very low sound, and Rorschach only felt a very weak vibration. The next moment, the black spacecraft suspended in the sky more than 8,000 meters high turned into a phantom, rushed out of the Earth's atmosphere, and entered the vast, dark, and deep universe. "Do you need to turn on the exterior scene simulation?" Babata asked. "The simulation level can be 10% minus 100%. Rorschach nodded. "Turn it on, 100%. In this command room, only the screen in front will display the scene in front, and the surroundings are just cold alloy walls and various equipment. If you want to truly appreciate the charm of the starry sky, you can turn on the exterior scene simulation." What is exterior scene simulation? Under Babata's operation, the command room disappeared from Rorschach's vision, replaced by the dark, deep space of the universe. Rorschach turned around and looked back, and saw a blue planet gradually moving away from him in his vision. In fact, it was the Black Dragon Mountain X-81 he was riding that was moving away from the blue planet. How beautiful! Looking at the Earth, Rorschach exclaimed in surprise. Speaking of which, whether in his previous life or this life, it was the first time for him to set foot in the starry sky, and the first time to watch his hometown, the blue Earth, from the dark universe. At this time, Babata's voice sounded again. She only heard her say, The spacecraft has accelerated to 100,000 kilometers per second, and will now head to Mars at a constant speed. The Sun, the Moon, the Comet. As the Black Dragon Mountain X-81 flew, Rorschach saw various cosmic bodies in the solar system, which was a completely different feeling from the cosmic bodies seen on Earth. However, knowing that loneliness and coldness is the eternal theme of the universe. After reading for a while, Rorschach sincerely felt a kind of loneliness from the depths of his soul. He shook his head slightly and said to Babada, "Let's simulate it at 10%. I'm going to study in the virtual space. Call me when I get to Mars." Babada looked at Rorschach with relief, nodded, and pulled his consciousness into the virtual space. Rorschach, who entered the virtual space, was soon immersed in the vast knowledge. He continued to absorb the knowledge prepared for him by Hu Yanbo. Rorschach is not only learning and understanding, but he also wants to take this knowledge as the basis and foundation to walk out of his own way. He is understanding and innovating. Thanks to book friend 20210912140744266 for rewarding Rorschach with 100 starting coins and 200 starting coins for this book. Thank you very much. At the same time, thank you to all readers who voted and subscribed. Thank you very much. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 122. Rorschach, we are almost there, the spacecraft is starting to slow down. Babada's voice rang out in the virtual space. Rorschach heard it, put the book in his hand on the bookshelf, and then exited the virtual space. Is it almost there? He looked forward, and with the function of outdoor simulation, he could see a red planet in the distance. As the spacecraft approached, the huge planet seemed to be smashing towards you, which was very shocking. Buzz. Under Babada's control, the spacecraft steadily entered the gravitational orbit of Mars, and then the spacecraft shuttled into the atmosphere of Mars. The atmosphere of Mars is very thin, and the spacecraft flew steadily and quickly downward. Soon, in Rorschach's vision, huge pyramids appeared on the vast and wild gravel land. 1, 2, 3. 9 pyramids in total. They formed a larger pyramid in the overall space. And under the 9 towering pyramids, you can vaguely see a dilapidated city with traffic roads and building foundations. Soon, the spacecraft arrived at the central area of the 9 pyramids. Rorschach said, "Babada, open the hatch." Swish. The hatch opened, he put on the black god suit and flew out of the spaceship. Rorschach was flying in the air, staring at the pyramids, and asked Babada, "Babada, there are so many pyramids on Mars, and there are cities under the pyramids. Why hasn't the Earth discovered them for so many years?" In the era before Nirvana, the Earth also observed Mars, and even countries across the ocean launched probes to the planet. But from beginning to end, the Earth did not discover these pyramids. Babada replied, "This base belongs to the Silver Blue Empire. With their technological level, it is very easy to hide such a base without being discovered by the Earth." She looked at Rorschach and smiled, and said, "Besides, even with your Earth's probes, you can't reach this area at all. How did you find it?" On Mars, there are often storms that sweep across the entire planet. Rorschach nodded, and asked again, "Why did the Silver Blue Empire build such a base here? This has to start from the dinosaur era of your Earth." Dinosaur era? Yes, according to the information recorded in my database, the Earth was ruled by the Silver Blue Empire as a pastoral planet. They raised dinosaurs on Earth and sold them to people on other planets. Babada said, "Dinosaurs were very profitable at that time. In order to protect this important industry, the Silver Blue Empire built such a base on Mars. The reason why the base was built here instead of directly on Earth. It is because there are a lot of black iron veins on Mars. The second use of this base is to dig out the black iron from the ground of Mars." Rorschach raised his eyebrows. "Black iron? Translated, this is the name. Babata said, revealing a reminiscent expression, when the Master came to Earth, he destroyed the interstellar transport ship of the Silver Blue Empire in one move. All kinds of spaceships and transport ships that can be found on Earth today were shot down by the Master back then. She looked at the base in front of her and continued, after the interstellar transport ship was destroyed, this base had no supplies. Even if they could make life meals, they couldn't hold on for long. So, they are all finished. Rorschach nodded in realization. It turns out that this dilapidated base has such a story. I feel these pyramids are a bit strange. Do they have any special meaning? He looked at the 9 pyramids and asked again. There are pyramids on Earth as well. Could those pyramids be built in imitation of these alien buildings? These pyramids are a kind of energy tower, Barbata said. It is made by imitating the way the mechanical race makes energy, and the cost performance is very high. Mechanical race, Rorschach was curious, is it a race similar to Transformers? Babata has been on Earth for more than 50,000 years, so she naturally knows what Transformers is. She nodded slightly. The two are different in the essence of life, but the appearance is similar. Babata looked at the ruined city under the pyramids and said to Rorschach, the ground city we see now is actually expanded from the underground. It is only a small part of the main city. Let's go underground. She pointed at Rorschach. Go to the left, 12 kilometers away, there is a surface cave that can be entered. Rorschach followed her instructions and flew to the left. Soon, he saw a huge cave with a diameter of 100 meters. Whoosh! Rorschach dived directly into the cave and continued to go deeper underground. As he dived, he released his mental power. As a planetary level 6th level mentalist, mental power can radiate 6,000 meters away. Soon, Rorschach sensed a huge city gate. He landed in front of the city gate and released the black robot that he had captured in ruins number 12. Push open the city gate. Rorschach gave an order, asking the black robot to push the city gate, and he himself retreated a distance. Boom! The metal robot's powerful palm pressed on the iron gate. As it exerted force, it made a sound that shook the cave. A large amount of soil fell down, and the iron gate was opened in the midst of gravel and dust. Swish! However, just as the iron gate was opened, dazzling lasers suddenly shot out from inside the iron gate, almost covering the entire range of the iron gate. The black robot was hit instantly, and the huge impact potential energy caused it to smash into the cave wall next to it, causing a lot of dust to collapse. Damn, there are lasers. Although Rorschach had expected it, he was still shocked when he saw the white laser suddenly shot out from the iron gate. Babata said, the 9 pyramids are not damaged. They are still operating normally and supplying this underground city. So, although there is no life, the function of the city has not disappeared. Is this the technology of the mechanical family? Rorschach sighed. It's just an imitation, but it can last for such a long time. This underground city was built specifically for mining. Its offensiveness is not that strong. We rush in directly and cut off its energy lines first, so we can go unimpeded. Babata said. Luoxia nodded, protected himself with the Moyun Vine and the Black God suit, then opened the domain and the kamikaze leg and rushed into the iron gate. Laser shot. Under the power of the domain, Luoxia clearly saw the line of the laser shooting. He was as graceful as a startled swan and as agile as a rabbit. He turned and moved, and rushed out of the laser coverage area in an instant. The city was pitch black. But Luoxia's eyesight could still see all the surroundings clearly. Left. Turn now and go to the right, right. It's here. Under the guidance of Babata, Luoxia quickly came to a place full of thick metal pipes. Cut these pipes, Babata said. Luoxia nodded, took out the red mixed copper mother, and under the control of telekinesis, 117 extremely tough telekinesis strands were attached to the fragments. Whoosh! The red mixed copper mother turned into a red silk thread and wrapped around those metal pipes. In less than a second, the red mixed copper mother flew back. Then, snap, snap. Slightly harsh sounds rang out one after another. Caret dash dot. Dot dash dot. Dot caret dash. A lot of electric sparks appeared, and then with a bang, the metal pipes exploded. There are still 8 energy towers, Babata said. Rorschach smiled and said, show the way. The level of the space is not high, so the defense of the entire underground city is also very weak. In the process of cutting off the energy supply, Rorschach did not encounter any obstacles. In less than a few minutes, the energy supply of the entire city was completely cut off by Rorschach. Babata smiled and said, after the energy supply is cut off, we can rest assured and slowly look for the stored black iron. According to my speculation, those higher level black iron essences must be carefully stored. Let's start looking. If we see anything good, take it all away. Rorschach nodded and began to search the city. The city is very vast, and all the buildings are made of black iron. If the golden horned beast can cross the void, it can come directly and devour the whole city. Not long after, Luoxia and Babata found a large pile of black iron. These black irons were placed outside the warehouse, covering the door of the warehouse, like a small mountain. Babata said, if I am not mistaken, the black iron essence is in the warehouse. Black iron essence is a higher grade metal than black iron, which is bred by black iron. Black iron is an A grade metal, and black iron essence is a B grade one. Let's collect these black irons outside first. So many black iron ores should be enough for Big Brother to devour. Luoxia said. As soon as he thought about it, piles of black iron ores disappeared and were stored in the storage space. Babata raised his hand, I will help too. With the joint efforts of the two of them, all the black iron outside the warehouse disappeared and was stored in the storage space. There are only 1.8 billion tons of black iron here, which is too little. It's barely enough to build a small interstellar battleship, Babata said. Let's go to the warehouse first. Luoxia stepped up to the warehouse in front. If there is black iron essence in it, it would be better. The door of the warehouse was closed. Luoxia tried to push it, but found that it couldn't be pushed. Let the black robot push it, but the door didn't move at all. It seems that I can only break it open, Luoxia muttered to himself, urging the red mixed copper mother to cut towards the door. This door is also made of black iron. It is very thick. Luoxia took more than 10 seconds to cut out a door hole that was enough for one person to enter. The warehouse was also full of black iron. Babata, it depends on you, Luoxia said. His storage space is almost full. And Babata's storage space still has a lot of space. Babata nodded and gradually put the black iron in the warehouse into the storage space. With her efforts, the hill-like black iron ore continued to decrease. Crimson. Suddenly, Luoxia saw a pile of crimson mineral deposits, and he couldn't help asking Babata, Babata, is that black iron essence? He brought Babata to the crimson mineral deposits. Babata took a look and said happily, yes, these are all black iron essence. How much is it? Luoxia asked. Babata glanced and said, about 1,200 tons. So little, Babata glared at Luoxia. 1,200 tons of black iron essence is already a lot. You have to know that for a large black iron mine, it's good to have 1/10,000th of black iron essence. Is that so? Luoxia glanced at the black iron essence in front of him, put them away first. This is just one warehouse. Maybe there are more black iron essences in other warehouses. Babata nodded, waved his hand, and collected the black iron essence in front of him. Luoxia saw that there was no black iron and black iron essence in this warehouse, so he left directly and went to other warehouses. They searched the city extensively and soon found thousands of tons of black iron essence. More than 30 minutes later, Rorschach looked at the door in front of him, and suddenly said to Babata in surprise, "Babata, come and see, this door is made of black iron essence." Babata flew over and looked at the door that was obviously a basement warehouse, and smiled. "Even the door is made of black iron essence, maybe there is a black iron mother under it, let's go down and take a look." As she said, she put away the crimson door. Rorschach and her followed the passage behind the door and came to a huge basement. "My old swan." Rorschach looked at the situation in the basement and exclaimed. What I saw was a large number of decayed weapons. But these weapons only occupied a small space in the basement. The most eye-catching thing here was a large amount of crimson metal. The volume of these metals is much larger than the black iron essences that Rorschach found before. And in the center of this black iron essence, there is a piece of blood-red metal. "Babata, is that the black iron mother?" Rorschach pointed to the blood-red metal and asked. Babata took a look and nodded immediately, saying, "Yes, it's the mother of black iron. This piece is about 360 kilograms. How much black iron essence is here?" "There are about 12,300 tons of black iron essence. I'm rich, ha ha ha." Rorschach laughed out loud. Babata frowned slightly, as if he had thought of something, and said to Rorschach, "Generally speaking, precious metals like black iron essence and black iron mother should be stored in warehouses. How come they are in this basement?" She thought about it and said to Rorschach, "I think this base should have undergone some institutional changes in the past, which changed the storage location of black iron essence and black iron mother. We'd better go to the main monitoring room of the city to check it out." "Okay," Rorschach agreed. He had such doubts when he entered this basement just now. This place looks like someone's private collection. And as a base, such private collection should not be in line with the rules. A few minutes later, under the guidance of Babata, Rorschach came to the main monitoring room of the underground city. The city's intelligent monitoring system stopped operating not long ago because the energy supply was cut off. After Babata used energy crystals to restart the entire system, Luoxia and his team quickly found the historical images and data of this underground city. These data and images are very large and vast. It took Babata a few minutes to summarize and organize them. The system here has indeed changed. The more than 3 million people who remain here have split into many forces without being rescued by the outside world. They are competing for various resources here like countries on Earth. Most of the black iron essence and black iron mother should have been hidden by them. Babata projected a virtual three-dimensional map in the void, on which she marked many red dots. These marked locations are the nests of those forces. Let's search each nest and maybe we can find a large number of black iron essence and black iron mother," Babata said. Luoxia's eyes lit up and said, "Let's go." A total of 12 places were searched, and 8 of them were empty nests with nothing. Obviously they were taken away by other forces. The harvests from the other 4 nests were all huge. Finally, Babata calculated for Luoxia, and they finally got about 33,600 tons of black iron essence and 34 tons of black iron mother. As for black iron, Babata, this underground city is built entirely of black iron. We can't waste it, can we? Looking at the city standing in the dark, Luoxia said with shining eyes. Babata smiled and nodded, "Of course we can't waste it. Next, you are responsible for dismantling it, and I will store it in the storage space." "Okay." Luoxia rushed out and started violent dismantling. Rumble. The violent dismantling lasted for more than 8 hours. When Luoxia stopped, the entire steel city had disappeared, leaving only some rotten debris, buried alone in the gravel and dust. "Luoxia, we have collected a total of 800 million tons of black iron raw materials. These black irons are not only enough for your eldest brother to devour, but also can be sold for a lot of money in the universe. When you venture into the universe, you won't be short of money. Babita said happily. She looked at the black iron as if she saw beautiful banknotes. Her eyes sparkled. Rorschach smiled and nodded, then said, Babita, we should go back. He flew out of the underground city and took Babita back to the spaceship. Babita looked at the base below and said, in fact, the mineral veins here have not been mined out, but we don't have the tools or manpower, so we can't mine the minerals here. People should be content. We have obtained a lot of black iron and black iron essence this time. Let's go back to Earth. Rorschach said with a smile. Babita nodded and began to control the Black Dragon Mountain X-81 to return. Earth, Kiri's Hima. Luo Feng is practicing absolute space. There is no shortcut to this secret method. It is to practice continuously, until you are familiar with that speed and master that power. Luo Feng's wings vibrated, and his figure rushed out suddenly. Halfway through the flight, he suddenly turned at a right angle. In theory, no matter what it is, when turning and changing direction, because the direction of the kinetic potential energy changes, it will cause a loss of speed. But now, when Luo Feng turned, the speed was not lost, and he still maintained the speed of sprinting out. This is the first level of absolute space, arc light. The secret method of this level is to allow the practitioner to burst out the maximum speed in an instant. For example, a person's maximum speed is 500 meters per second. Then he needs a distance to accelerate and sprint to reach this maximum speed. But after practicing absolute space, he can reach a speed of 500 meters per second at the moment of starting. And this secret method can also be used for turning. It allows you to keep the speed unchanged when changing direction. Boom! Luo Feng's huge body suddenly hit a mountain wall. As the rubble fell, Luo Feng slowly flew out of the mountain wall. He shook his huge head and whispered to himself. The first level of absolute space is really difficult. You can do it with more practice, but to stop instantly, it violates the most basic laws of physics. The huge dynamic potential energy cannot be stopped at all. While talking to himself, the golden horned beast's keen perception suddenly felt the approach of the spacecraft. He looked up at the sky and saw a black spaceship appear. Luo Xia flew out of the hatch, and then the spaceship was put into the storage space by Babita. Luo Feng was delighted. Xiao Xia and Babita are back. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 123. Brother, we are back. Luo Xia flew to Luo Feng's side with a smile on her face. Seeing him like this, Luo Feng couldn't help but ask, how was this trip to Mars? Great harvest, Rorschach made a gesture, at least you don't have to worry about not enough metal until you advance to the star level. Luo Feng was shocked, how much metal did you get? Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. Luo Xia smiled and said, the base that Babita took me to was specialized in mining black iron veins. I demolished the entire base city and finally got 800 million tons of black iron and a large amount of black iron essence. Xianchamu. So much. Luo Feng was surprised, and then felt very happy. With so much black iron, he should be able to reach the star level faster. In the following time, Luo Feng practiced hard on Kiri's Hima, devouring black iron and black iron essence. His strength continues to improve. Planet Level 3, Planet Level 4. After Luo Feng finishes his training, he will let go of the defenses of the inner world, allowing Luo Xia's consciousness to enter it, observe the golden secret patterns on the starry sky core, and understand the innate secret method within it. The days passed like this. Luo Xia did not stay with Luo Feng on Kiri's Hima. He would go home when he had time, comfort his parents and family, and visit Su Xian on behalf of Luo Feng. Because she got pregnant while in college, Su Xian's belly started to show her pregnancy after classes ended in the next semester. So after the holiday, Luo Xia took Su Xian home. Gong Xinlan was very happy to see Su Xian pregnant. After Luo Xia took Su Xian home, Gong Xinlan cared for her meticulously every day. According to her, Luo Feng is not here. As a mother, she cannot let Su Xian feel any grievance and must take good care of her. The Su family naturally knew about Su Xian's pregnancy. But they didn't have any objections to this, and were happy to see it happen. After all, Luo Feng is now a powerful man at the parliament level, a big shot that even the country must treat with caution. There are too many people and forces who want to become in-laws with Luo Feng. For example, the Wang family, the largest family in the capital, wanted to marry a girl from the family to Luo Feng or Luo Xia in order to win over Luo Feng and Luo Xia. It's just that Luo Feng and Luo Xia have always been immersed in cultivation and never attended various parties and banquets. These families and forces who want to use honey traps never have the chance to do so. Previously, the elders of the Su family were worried that Su Xian would not be able to grasp Luo Feng. Unexpectedly, the young man turned the raw rice into cooked rice. As elders, they were overjoyed as soon as they found out Su Xian was pregnant. Not only did they not blame Su Xian, but they also planned to let her drop out of school and go home to raise the baby. But Su Xian still insisted on finishing the semester and did not agree to suspend school. After the relationship between Su Xian and Luo Feng officially stabilized, the Su family also relied on their relationship with Luo Feng to increase their status in the HR alliance. Now in the entire HR alliance, the influence of the Su family is comparable to that of the 9 core families. On this day, Luo Xia was practicing with Luo Feng in Kiri's Hima, comprehending the innate secret method of the golden horned giant beast. A phone call came suddenly. "It's Dad Luo Hongguo." Luo Xia answered the phone. "Dad, is something wrong?" "Xiao Xia, an old man named Lu Yan came to our house. He said that he found my and your mother's relatives, and you might want to come home," Luo Hongguo said excitedly on the phone. When Luo Xia heard this, he couldn't help but look at his eldest brother Luo Feng, who was lying opposite. He nodded and said to Luo Hongguo, "Dad, I'll go back right away." After hanging up the phone, Luo Xia looked at Luo Feng and said, "Brother, I'll go back first." "Well, you go ahead," Luo Feng nodded. When he returned home, Rorschach saw an old man sitting on the sofa. Opposite the old man, sat Luo Hongguo and Gong Xinlan. Luo Hua's girlfriends Zhen Nan and Su Xian were sitting on the side, listening to the 3 elders talking. "Congressman Luo Xia, hello, I am Lu Yan." Seeing Rorschach approaching, the old man stood up, extended his hand to Rorschach and introduced himself. Luo Xia reached out and shook hands with the old man, and said with a smile, "Hello, Mr. Lu, could you please come over?" After exchanging pleasantries, he sat down with the old man. Lu Yan said, "It's no trouble. We have been looking for information since we received Representative Luo Feng's request for us to help find relatives." He said and sighed, but when the Great Nirvana happened, many files were damaged and lost, making it difficult to find. We only found some information not long ago, and after repeated confirmations, we came here to inform you. "Who did you find?" Rorschach asked. "Mr. Lu Yan and the others found my cousin and your mother's cousin," Luo Hongguo said excitedly at this time, "and your aunt is still alive." Luo Xia thought for a while and said, "I remember my great-aunt. When I was a child, my father often talked about my great-aunt. When he was a child, Luo Hongguo often talked about his aunt." According to Luo Hongguo's description, his aunt Luo Hongqin was not much older than him. She often took Luo Hongguo out to play and bought him food. Luo Xia was a little surprised at this time. He didn't expect that his aunt was still alive. Lu Yan said apologetically, "We have only found these two so far. As for other relatives of Congressman Lugo's family, we are still searching." "Thank you very much," Rorschach said. Lu Yan smiled, stood up and said, "I have already sent the information to you. Now that the matter has been notified to Counselor Lugo, I will not continue to disturb you and take my leave. Mr. Lu, sit down for a while." "No, I still have work to do." "Then walk slowly." Lugo Xia sent Lu Yan to the door, watched him get into the car and leave, and then returned to the living room. At this time, Lugo Hongguo and Gong Xinlan's eyes were red. They were excited when they heard the news about their loved ones. Lugo Hongguo wiped his tears and said, "Every time my sister-in-law came to visit me, she would bring me delicious food and buy me a handheld game console. I still remember her appearance clearly to this day." He looked towards Lugo Xia and asked, "Xiao Xia, please take a look at the information Mr. Lu sent you. Where is your aunt and the others living now? We will go find her now." Lugo Xia clicked on the information sent by Lu Yan, read it quickly, and said to Lugo Hongguo, "Dad, my aunt and the others now live in Tianjin City in the base city of Kyoto." "It turns out that's where it is," Lugo Hongguo was delighted. "My sister-in-law and her family happened to be traveling in Kyoto. It must have been that after the disaster broke out, they were trapped there, so they settled there." Gong Xinlan said, "Old man, you and the children can go. It's not convenient for Su Xian to go out now. I'll stay at home to take care of her." Lugo Hongguo glanced at Su Xian and nodded, "Okay, then you can stay at home." "Uncle, Aunt, you all go," Zhen Nan said at this time, "I will stay at home to take care of Sister Xian." Su Xian also smiled and said at this time, "As long as Xionan takes care of me, it will be fine. Dad, Mom, you can go without worry." Lugo Hongguo and Gong Xinlan looked at each other and nodded. After some preparations, Lugo Xia took his parents and second brother Lugo Hua on a fighter plane and flew to Tianjin City, the base city of Kyoto. At around 4 o'clock in the afternoon that day, the dark blue smart fighter landed on the apron of the Extreme Club Hall in Tianjin City. Lugo Xia rented a car without anyone picking her up and took Lugo Hongguo and the others to the place where their great-aunt Lugo Hongqin and the others lived. In a residential complex. Rorschach stepped forward and rang the doorbell at the door of a villa. Ding dong, ding dong. The doorbell rang one after another, but there was no response. Just when Rorschach was about to use his mental power to investigate, the neighbor heard the noise and came over and said, "Don't ring the doorbell. There is no one at home. Their old lady has gone to the hospital, and her son and daughter-in-law have gone to the hospital to take care of her." "Oh, that's right." Lugo Xia nodded and scanned the villa with his mental energy. There was indeed no one there. He asked the neighbor, "Excuse me, sir, do you know which hospital it is? Who are you from Laotang?" The neighbor's old man looked at Lugo Xia and the others, but did not answer immediately, but asked. Lugo Hongguo stepped forward and said, "Hello, uncle, my name is Lugo Hongguo. The old lady you mentioned should be my aunt. We are related to their family." Lugo Hongguo. The old man murmured the name, feeling that he had some impression. It seemed that he had heard this name when chatting with Tang Cheng in the past. He put down his guard and said, "They are relatives. Lao Tang and the others are at the First People's Hospital." "Thank you, uncle." Lugo Hongguo thanked him. The family then drove to the First People's Hospital. In the car, Lugo Hongguo felt a little emotional and said, "My sister-in-law's life is pretty good. They live in villas, which is much better than our family used to." Before Rorschach went to junior high school, his family lived in a low-rent house. It was not until later that he started making money online that the family moved out and their life became better. Lugo Hua was driving the car. Lugo Xia recalled the information sent by Lu Yan and said with a smile, My great-aunt's grandson and granddaughter were very smart when they were young and had very good academic performance. They went to Kyoto University at the age of 15 and are now in a national key research institute. The villa in my great-aunt's house was allocated by the institute. When Gong Xinlan heard this, she couldn't help but smile and said, "How smart! Just like you." Luo Hongguo nodded slightly proudly. Every one of our children is smart, which shows that the genes of the old Luo family are very good. While the family was chatting and laughing, they had arrived at the First People's Hospital. "Hello doctor, which ward does Ms. Luo Hongqin live in?" Luo Xia asked a nurse in the inpatient department. The female nurse looked at Luo Xia, then at Luo Hongguo and others standing behind him, and asked hesitantly, "Are you?" She always felt that the man in front of her looked familiar. "I seem to have seen this face somewhere. We are relatives of Ms. Luo Hongqin." "My name is Luo Xia," said with a smile. As soon as the name came out, the female nurse didn't react. She just nodded, checked on the computer, and then told Luo Xia the ward where her great-aunt Luo Hongqin was. After Luo Xia left with her family, the female nurse reacted belatedly, stood up suddenly and shouted, "Ah! That one just now, that one, is Inspector Luo." The appointment ceremony of Luo Xia and Luo Feng was broadcast live around the world. When the female nurse was surprised, Luo Xia and Luo Hongguo had already arrived at the door of a special ward. In the ward, an old lady with gray hair was lying on the hospital bed, her face colorless. On the sofa next to the hospital bed, a middle-aged couple slept. A young man and woman were sitting by the bed talking to the old lady. Suddenly, they noticed Rorschach and the others coming to the door. The young boy stood up in confusion and asked Rorschach and the others, "Who are you?" Luo Hongguo had already walked into the ward at this time. He looked at the old lady on the bed and his breathing was a little short. The old lady looked at Luo Hongguo with some confusion at first. Gradually, her expression changed and she said in a rather excited tone, You are." These movements woke up the middle-aged couple sleeping on the sofa. Seeing that the old lady was a little excited, the woman couldn't help but come over and asked worriedly, "Mom, what's wrong with you?" The middle-aged man looked at Luo Hongguo warily and asked, "Who are you?" "It's me, Luo Hongguo." Luo Hongguo looked at the middle-aged man excitedly, "You must be Tang Cheng, right? Do you still remember me?" "Luo Hongguo." The middle-aged man murmured the name, his frown suddenly relaxed, and he looked at Luo Hongguo in surprise, "Are you Hongguo's cousin?" The old lady lying on the bed also struggled to get up excitedly. She looked at Luo Hongguo and asked with red eyes, "Really, Hongguo?" "It's me, sister-in-law." Luo Hongguo's eyes were also red. He stepped forward and squatted in front of the bed so that the old lady could see his face clearly. "It's really Hongguo, you look almost exactly like your father." The old lady excitedly stretched out her thin hand and grabbed Luo Hongguo. "I didn't expect that I would be able to see you before I died." "What a cousin! Oh my God, it's been more than 40 years, Tang Cheng," a middle-aged man, also became excited at this time and sighed with emotion. The old lady looked at Luo Hongguo with a smile on her face. "When you first came in, I thought you were dreaming because you look so much like your father." "Hongguo, where are your father and your mother?" Luo Hongguo shook his head. The old lady sighed when she saw this. Luo Hongguo waved to Luo Xia and the others behind them, "Ahua, Xioxia, come here quickly. Wait for Luo Xia and Luo Hua to come forward." Luo Hongguo introduced to the old lady, "Sister-in-law, these are my two children. They are twins. I also have an eldest son, but he is on a mission now and is not at home, so I didn't bring him here." The old lady looked at Luo Hongguo with emotion. "Hongguo, in my memory, you are still a little kid. When I see you again, I didn't expect that you are now the father of 3 sons. It's great," she said, waving to Luo Xia and Luo Hua, "Come, let me take a look." They are indeed twins, they look really alike. But Ahua looks weaker, and Xiao Xia is much stronger. Rorschach smiled slightly. He is now a planet-level warrior, how can he not be strong? The old lady waved to the young man and woman next to her again. Yongqing, Yongyuan, you two come over and meet Ahua and the others. What a coincidence. You are both twins. Bang. At this moment, the door to the ward was kicked open suddenly. Luo Hongguo and the others were shocked. Immediately afterwards, a young man with cold eyes walked in with two strong men who looked like bodyguards. Seeing these three people, Tang Cheng and the others' expressions changed. What are you doing here? Tang Yongqing, my aunt's granddaughter, stepped forward and looked at the young man with an angry face and shouted. I'm just telling you that you still have 3 days to make your choice. The young man with cold eyes looked at Tang Yongqing. Yongqing, you should know my temper. Tang Yongqing's face turned pale. You, get out quickly. Don't stay here. The younger brother Tang Yongyuan next to him took a step forward, stood beside his sister, pointed at the young man and said angrily, Wang Xing'an. Don't go too far. My sister and I are also first-level researchers at the institute. You. Shit. Before Tang Yongyuan could finish his words, he was interrupted by Wang Xing'an, who looked at Tang Yongyuan with disdain. I don't even pay attention to your research institute, let alone a bullshit researcher like you. Boy, don't think that because your sister is here, I won't dare to attack you. 3 days. I gave your sister 3 days. After 3 days, if your sister doesn't agree to me, not only your sister, but also you, the little guy who has scolded me 3 times, I will deal with it together. Tang Yongqing was so angry that she was shaking all over, with tears in her eyes. Tisk. Suddenly, a calm voice sounded in the ward, second brother, I didn't expect that in this day and age, there would be such an idiot. In what 3 days, has he watched too much TV from a wealthy family? His brain broken. Everyone looked and saw Luo Xia talking to Luo Hua with a smile. Tang Yongqing and the others were stunned and stayed where they were. Luo Hua glanced at Wang Xing'an and said with a smile, it's possible. Wang Xing'an's face was gloomy, you dare to scold me? Boss, second brother, go and tear their mouths apart. He ordered to the 2 strong men behind him. The 2 strong men who came with him immediately walked towards Luo Xia and Luo Hua with evil smiles. Seeing the strong man walking towards Luo Xia and Luo Hua, Tang Yongqing became anxious. He walked in front of Luo Xia and Luo Hua, protected them behind him, and said, don't interfere. His name is Wang Xing'an. He is from the Wang family in Kyoto City, and he is the family's first heir who has just been appointed. His mother is from the Kyoto General Military Region. Cousin, should we call you cousin? Rorschach's voice was still calm and did not change as the 2 strong men approached. Tang Yongqing and Tang Yongyuan are as old as Luo Feng. So Luo Xia and Luo Hua should both call them cousin. Wang Xing'an. Luo Xia shook his head, passed Tang Yongqing, and took the initiative to walk towards the 2 strong men. Can such a guy become the first heir of the family? It seems that there are not many people in the Wang family, and they are destined to be here. A generation is in decline. Buzz. As his words fell, invisible spiritual power enveloped the 2 strong men. In everyone's astonished eyes, the 2 strong men blushed and were lifted into the air by the power of the telekinesis in shock and anger. Originally, mental power could not directly have any impact on the human body. But that's for the average mentalist. But for a spiritual master like Luo Xia, who has huge mental power and is extremely condensed, it is too easy to just mention 2 strong men. The 2 strong men were trapped by their mental power, like 2 ants, unable to even move or speak. Wang Xing'an was frightened when he saw his bodyguard being lifted up, but he quickly calmed down and looked at Luo Xia with interest and said, he is actually a spiritual master? But, you dare to attack me? Oh, you are the eldest young master of the Wang family, who dares to do something to you? Rorschach said. However, as soon as he finished speaking, Wang Xing'an found himself pinched by an invisible force and his body was lifted into the air. He looked at Rorschach in shock and anger. Luo Xia laughed, spread his hands and said, "Look, I didn't do anything. It's just the power of thought. Dad, Mom, Auntie, I'm going to go out and deal with this guy's affairs. What are you doing in the ward?" Luo Xia turned around and said something, and then used his telekinesis to lead Wang Xing'an and his two bodyguards to the corridor of the hospital. Behind him, Tang Cheng's family all looked at Luo Xia with doubtful eyes. When Luo Xia walked out of the ward, Tang Chengke looked at Luo Hongguo and asked, "Cousin, Xioxia, he?" Luo Hongguo smiled and said, "Don't worry, Xioxia will handle it well." Luo Hua also smiled and said, "That's right, let alone the first heir of the Wang family, even if the current patriarch of the Wang family comes, I can handle it." Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 124. Luo Xia's telepathy held Wang Xing'an and his two men outside the corridor of the hospital. There are some patients and nurses in the corridor. When they saw this kind of battle, they were all stunned for a moment, and then watched from a distance. Wang Xing'an's whole body was lifted up in the air by the force of his mind. His body could not move, but his mouth could still speak. Luo Xia also wanted to hear what outrageous words this so-called first heir to the Wang family could say. To be honest, it is not easy to meet such a weirdo as Wang Xing'an in this era. Especially when the other party is the heir to the royal family of Kyoto. I don't know how the Wang family cultivated Wang Xing'an, but they actually cultivated him into it, which is simply interesting. Luo Xia wanted to go to the Wang family to see in person what Wang Xing'an's parents were like. "How dare you attack me?" Wang Xing'an stared at Luo Xia, gritting his teeth. Bang! Luo Xia suddenly used force and threw Wang Xing'an heavily on the corridor. In the dull impact, Wang Xing'an's internal organs were shocked and he spat out a mouthful of blood. Luo Xia looked down at Wang Xing'an who was watching on the ground, and chuckled, "Well, this is much more comfortable." Wang Xing'an looked ferocious and stared at Luo Xia, "You are looking for death. You are looking for death." His body was still suppressed by Rorschach's telekinesis, unable to move. "Ah, that's right." Rorschach nodded, as if he was all ears, "I'm looking for death, so how are you going to let me die, you bastard?" His confident look made Wang Xing'an so angry that he wanted to vomit blood. He, the eldest son of the Wang family, usually treats others like this. When has he ever been treated like this? He was extremely angry, stared at Luo Xia, and said, "I see you are also a spiritual master, with some background. Do you want to play literary or martial arts with me? Tell me about it." Luo Xia looked at Wang Xing'an with interest. He wanted to know what kind of weird thoughts this idiot had in his mind. Luo Xia's look hurt Wang Xing'an and made him even more crazy and angry. But despite his anger, he still retains a trace of reason. Wang Xing'an said coldly, "Wu, it's because you are hot-headed that you will kill me directly. The hospital is a public place, and the base city inspection system is everywhere in the hospital. Every situation here will be clearly recorded by the monitoring system. When the time comes, the Wang family will go through legal channels. Even if you are a high-level god of war, you will still be sentenced to death. If you kill me, the law will sentence you to death. This is due to force. It's very simple, please let me go. I won't leave either, just outside this ward, the base city police will be here in a moment. Then it will be up to us to use our methods to see who is unlucky for you or me." Wang Xing'an's eyes showed madness. Tisk. Luo Xia laughed out loud. Under Wang Xing'an's angry gaze, he shook his head slightly and said with emotion, "My old swan, Mr. Wang, you are so interesting. It turns out that stupid people who think they are superior have this kind of thinking and logic. It's interesting. As he spoke, his eyes suddenly became extremely cold. Looking down at Wang Xing'an on the ground, Luo Xia sneered and said, "Chinese? Marshal. At this point, do you still think you can control everything? You bastard, I don't want to play with anything but you." The moment the words fell, Luo Xia's telepathy sealed Wang Xing'an's mouth. Then, under the horrified eyes of other people in the corridor, Wang Xing'an's body made a strange noise. Click, click, click. This was the sound of bones breaking. Luo Xia was using his telepathy to crush Wang Xing'an's bones inch by inch. Start with your toes. When had Wang Xing'an experienced such pain? At the moment when his bones broke, he wanted to cry out in pain, but Luo Xia sealed his mouth so that he could not make any sound. Wang Xing'an's body began to convulse, his eyes were splitting, and he almost died from the pain. But Luo Xia knew how to control the situation and kept Wang Xing'an breathing a sigh of relief without letting him die. Luo, Representative Luo. Just when Luo Xia broke all the bones in Wang Xing'an's lower body, Dean Tian and several doctors of this hospital finally came over. They didn't know that Rorschach had arrived until a nurse came to notify them. They came over in surprise and prepared to greet Rorschach. As a result, when they came over, they saw Luo Xia treating Wang Xing'an. Looking at the eldest son of the Wang family, he was so limp that all the bones in his lower body were probably broken. Dean Tian gasped. He couldn't offend the eldest son of the Wang family, and he didn't dare to offend Counselor Luo. In today's situation, he shouldn't have come here. Who are you? Luo Xia looked at Dean Tian. Dean Tian was sweating profusely and introduced himself. I am the director of this hospital, Tian Qiutao, Senator Luo. Oh, Dean Tian. If you have nothing to do, wait until I finish playing with this guy before I talk to you. Luo Xia nodded, and then continued to crush the bones in Wang Xing'an's body. The cracking sound made Dean Tian and the doctors who came over tremble. Ah, this. Dean Tian carefully glanced at the half-dead Wang Xing'an and reminded, Congressman Luo, this is Wang Xing'an from the Wang family in Kyoto. I know it's him. Luo Xia nodded, smiled, and said to Tian Qiutao. Dean Tian, there is no need to be afraid. As a wealthy Wang family, if they raise such a creature that is worse than a pig or a dog, I will clean up the family for them. They should be very grateful to me. At this time, he was already crushing Wang Xing'an's ribs. Tian Qiutao looked at Wang Xing'an who was in pain on the ground and couldn't live. He broke into cold sweat all over his body. It stands to reason that ordinary people who have suffered such great torture should have died of pain long ago. But Luo Xia has been protecting Wang Xing'an's spirit and soul, allowing him not only to clearly feel the pain of having his bones crushed, but also to prevent him from dying for a while. Wow! At this time, a group of police officers also arrived. They are fully armed and are the Special Operations Brigade here, specialized in dealing with lawless warriors. After the special forces entered the corridor, a tall and straight figure came out and said to Rorschach respectfully. Hello, Congressman Luo, I am Li Dong, the captain of the Special Task Force. There are family rules and state laws. All crimes committed by Wang Xing'an will be punished by state laws. I hope you can stay calm. I'm calm. Luo Xia finally crushed Wang Xing'an's nasal bones, and then said to Li Dong and others, so it's still alive, you can take it down. Yes. Li Dong nodded and waved to the team members behind him. Immediately, two members of the special team carried a stretcher they got from nowhere and carried Wang Xing'an down, whose bones were basically broken. Li Dong looked at Luo Xia and said cautiously, then we won't disturb Representative Luo. After saying that, he was about to turn around and leave. By the way, Captain Li. At this time, Rorschach called him. Li Dong turned around and looked at Luo Xia. Congressman Luo, is there anything else you can do? Tell the Wang family that if Wang Xing'an is still alive, then it will be the Wang family who will die, Luo Xia said calmly. Li Dong had cold sweat on his forehead. After a while, he nodded and said to Luo Xia, Member Luo, please rest assured that the crimes committed by Wang Xing'an will eventually be punished by law. Rorschach waved his hand and turned back to the ward. Outside the corridor, Dean Tian and the others looked at each other and secretly breathed a sigh of relief. I remember, in the ward, Tang Yongyuan suddenly shouted excitedly. Tang Cheng looked at his youngest son in confusion and asked, Yongyuan, what do you remember? Cousin Luo Xia is the inspector of the extreme martial arts gym, Tang Yongyuan said excitedly to his parents and grandma. He is also a member of the Ares Palace. Grandma, do you remember it? We saw the appointment ceremony of the extreme martial arts inspector on TV at that time. Luo Hunkin thought about it and nodded, yes, I have seen it before. I just said that Xioxia's face is a bit familiar. It turns out that I have seen him on TV. Tan Yongqing remembered it at this moment, and she covered her mouth in surprise. Unexpectedly, the cousin I met today turned out to be an inspector of an extreme martial arts gym. This is an existence that even the Wang family cannot afford to offend. Put it this way. Can he get rid of Wang Xing'an's entanglement? When she thought of this, she burst into tears of joy. At this time, Luo Xia also returned to the ward, saw Tang Yongqing crying, and said, Cousin, why are you crying? Don't worry, Wang Xing'an will not pester you in the future. Well. Tang Yongqing wiped his tears, smiled at Luo Xia, and thank you, cousin. Why are you so grateful? As a cousin, can I still watch you being bullied by scum? Rorschach said with a smile. For a moment, everyone in the ward laughed. Luo Xia did not stay in the base city of Kyoto for long. After curing her great-aunt Luo Hunkin, except for Luo Hongguo and Luo Hua, who had to stay for a few days, Gong Xinlan and Luo Xia, who cared about their daughter-in-law, went home first. After Rorschach sent his mother home, he didn't stay at home for a long time and returned to Kirishima the next day. After meeting his eldest brother Luo Feng, Luo Xia briefly talked about the meeting with his aunt and the others. Hearing what happened to Wang Xing'an, Luo Feng was also a little indignant and said, Xiao Xia, you did the right thing. If you just let him be executed, it would really be an advantage for him. Rorschach glanced at the golden horned beast in surprise. He thought to himself, it seems that my eldest brother's heart and thinking have been affected by the golden horned beast that seized his body. Otherwise, if it were the previous eldest brother, he probably wouldn't agree with the fact that he broke Wang Xing'an's body bones. The two brothers chatted about things at home. When they heard that Su Xian was in good condition, Luo Feng felt relieved and continued to practice. Now, after devouring a large amount of black iron and black iron essence, Luo Feng's strength is very close to stellar level. He must work harder and reach star level as soon as possible. As long as he grows to star level, he can give birth to his own earthly clone and return to his family. More than 2 months passed in this way. On this day, Luo Feng's aura suddenly boiled, and the terrifying aura centered on him and swept around. Boom! In the lake where Kirishima is located, all the monsters were disturbed by Luo Feng's aura, and they fled away from the island in the middle of the lake in fear. Brother finally broke through to the stellar level. Seeing the terrifying aura boiling over Luo Feng's body, Luo Xia had a look of emotion on his face. Roar! The sudden increase in strength made Luo Feng couldn't help but roar up to the sky. The passionate roar spread throughout the fields, shaking the entire island in the middle of the lake. Bang bang bang. At this moment, several huge tentacles suddenly rose up on the lake shrouded in mist. It was the Beast King level tentacle monster underground that was disturbed by Luo Feng's aura. It thought Luo Feng was here to seize territory and launched an attack. Attack! Xioxia, wait for me to kill the tentacle monster underground. Luo Feng, who gradually restrained his aura, said to Luo Xia with a cold light flashing in his dark golden pupils. After saying that, his huge body turned into a black and golden lightning and rushed into the lake. After its strength was promoted to the star level, the size of the golden horned behemoth reached more than 180 meters in length, and its body covered with black scales looked extremely ferocious and terrifying. Boom boom boom. A terrible breath came from the ground, and the island in the middle of the lake shook a few times. After a few seconds, everything stopped again. Wow! Rorschach flew up and looked towards the big lake, only to see huge waves rolling in the lake, and then a huge whirlpool appeared. Then, in the rolling waves, a huge body suddenly rushed out of the whirlpool. It was Luo Feng who rushed into the lake before. "Brother, how are you?" Luo Xia flew to Luo Feng's side and asked. Luo Feng smiled and said, "That tentacle monster has been swallowed by me. With his current star-level strength, it would be too easy to deal with a Beast King-level monster. After he rushed down, he didn't use much force. Just swallowed the tentacle monster directly." While talking, one person and one beast returned to the island in the middle of the lake. Luo Feng asked at this time, "By the way, Xioxia, how much have you understood about the golden horned beast's innate secret method now?" Rorschach said, "The strengthening talent has been fully understood." As he spoke, golden secret lines slowly appeared all over his body. These secret lines seemed to have grown on his body, blending into his skin, making Rorschach look like a god of war. At the same time, his aura suddenly surged. Luo Xia punched out, only to hear a loud bang, and the strong wind caused by the explosion of punch force directly blasted a huge ravine into the forest in front. After using the enhanced talent, my strength will be doubled in all aspects. In other words, after using enhancement, his physical fitness and mental power will be doubled in an instant. This is an extremely huge improvement. Babata and Luo Feng were stunned when they looked at Luo Xia, who was now covered with golden secret patterns. You have really understood the secret method of the golden horned beast," Babata said in great surprise. She looked at Rorschach now as if she were looking at a monster. Luo Feng was surprised and said with some regret, "If you also have a world inside your body, wouldn't you also be able to use the golden horned behemoth's devour talent and clone talent?" Babata said at this time, "As long as the strength reaches the realm lord level, you can have the inner world." At that time, if Rorschach can understand the golden horned giant beast's talent of swallowing and cloning, wouldn't he become a human-shaped golden beast? Horned behemoth. Actually, I have fully understood the swallowing and clone functions of the golden horned giant beast, but I just don't have the inner world, so I can't use them. Rorschach's words are not surprising and will never stop. Babata and Luo Feng. Monster! Monster! After a while, Babata shouted exaggeratedly, "This is the innate secret method of the golden horned giant beast. No one else would have thought of comprehending and learning it. You have completely understood it now." Rorschach did not pay attention to Babata's words, but touched his chin and continued, "The world inside the body is the key to using devour and clone, so if I can open up a world in the body." Having said this, Luo Xia suddenly looked at Babata and asked, "Babata, you should have detailed information on the world lord level powerhouse, right?" Babata was stunned and looked at Rorschach. "What do you want to do?" "I want to know how the realm lord opens up the inner world. Please tell me all the information about the realm master," Rorschach said. Babata was stunned, and then shouted, "Even if I tell you the world master's information, you are now at the planet level. Do you still plan to open up the inner world at the planet level? This is simply impossible. Completely impossible." Luo Xia smiled and said, "I just want to know the information about the world master opening up the inner world. Please, Babata." Babata looked at Rorschach and saw his firm eyes, knowing that if he didn't say anything, Rorschach would never give up. After pondering slightly, she began to tell the details and information about the World Master. As an intelligent life that once served an immortal level powerhouse, Babata's database naturally contains detailed information on how territory lords broke through to world lords. When we were on the falling ink star, I told you that under normal circumstances, a world lord would be born in 1000 galaxies. Babata began to tell the information about the realm lord in her database. Of course, if there is immortal guidance, this range can be narrowed down, and often one can be born in 100 galaxies. Although the master is dead, having me tutor you is the same as being taught by an immortal level powerhouse in person. There is not much difference. If you want to become a realm lord, you must first understand a certain lower level law when you are at the domain lord level. If you understand this law to a certain level, you can be promoted to realm lord. The understanding of the law attaches great importance to understanding and whether the attributes of the law are consistent with its own attributes. For example, if you are of the gold attribute, but you do not comprehend the law of gold, but comprehend the law of wind, then you are doing twice the work with half the effort, and in the end, it may be in vain. Luo Xia and Luo Feng nodded. Babata continued. Let's get back to the topic. When the law is comprehended to a certain extent, the domain master's mind power and original force will be integrated into one, turning into the power of the world, which can form any material. At the same time, the soul crystal is the spiritual mind power crystal planet in your sea of consciousness, and the original force crystal is the microplanet in your Danshan. They will merge into the source bead. When the power of the world is born, the will of the realm master will communicate with the origin of the universe, and then with the help of the origin of the universe, open up the inner world. The inner world of the realm master is different from the inner world of the golden horned beast. The inner world of the golden horned beast cannot accommodate living things and life, but the inner world of the realm master is the same as the outside world. It can evolve life and store living things. Luo Xia and Luo Feng listened carefully. After Babata's narration, they had a deeper understanding of the world master. Thanks to book friend 202303271128104115 for the 100 starting coins. Thanks to book friend Onden Nuaniang CD for the 100 book coins. Thank you very much. At the same time, thank you to all the book friends who voted and subscribed. Thank you very much. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 125. Under Babata's narration, Luo Xia and Luo Feng quickly gained a deep understanding of the realm master. Simply put, if a person wants to become a realm lord, he needs to have a deep understanding of a certain lower origin law. This so-called lower origin law refers to the 8 laws of metal, wood, water, fire, earth, wind, thunder, and lightning, and light. The upper laws refer to the laws of time and the laws of space. The lower laws corresponding to the law of time are the 3 laws of wind, thunder, and lightning, and light. The lower laws corresponding to the laws of space are the 5 laws of metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. When you are promoted to World Lord, the mind power and the force in your body will merge together to form a powerful and special power, the power of the world. The world within the main body of the world is opened up with the power of the world. Babata, according to you, when the spiritual power in the sea of consciousness and the genetic power of the body are fused, the power of the world will be born. Is this power of the world the key to opening up the world inside the body? Rorschach asked after listening to Babata's story. That's right. Babata nodded, looked at Luo Xia and Luo Feng who were listening carefully, and said, as spiritual masters, you should also know that spiritual power is spiritual power, and genetic energy is genetic energy. The two do not interfere with each other. Clearly distinguishable. Luo Xia and Luo Feng nodded. Although mental power and genetic energy are both formed by the cultivation and transformation of cosmic energy, they are usually distinct. When using mental power, what is consumed is mental power, and the original genetic energy will not be consumed. The same is true when using genetic energy. If you don't do it deliberately, these two energies will not come into contact and merge. Luo Feng said, I never thought that after the fusion of spiritual power and genetic energy, the power of the world would be born. He looked at Luo Xia and said, Xiao Xia, maybe you can give it a try. Even if you don't understand the law, if you get this power of the world, maybe you can open up the world inside your body. No, no, no. As soon as Luo Feng finished speaking, Babata shook his head hurriedly, flew in front of Luo Xia, stared at him and said, absolutely. Absolutely don't try it. Rorschach was stunned and looked at the nervous Babata in confusion. Why? You are planet level. Babata had a serious look on his face. If you really try and are lucky enough to be born with the power of the world, then what awaits you is instant death. There will be no other ending. She shook her head and stared at Luo Xia. Your body simply cannot withstand the power of the world. Since the birth of the universe, in the endless years, do you think no one has thought of opening up the inner world before the domain lord level? Some people have made such attempts. But they all failed. Because the domain master's previous physical strength could not withstand the power of the world. Babata looked at Rorschach and finally warned, so Rorschach, you must never try it. Don't even have this idea. You are the genius with the most powerful understanding that I, Babata, have ever seen. Even Hong, who has a domain at the planet level, can't compare to 1/10,000th of you. Although the genetic qualifications of the people on Earth limit you. But as long as you take one step, if you keep going one step at a time, I believe you can surpass the master in the future. So, don't be stupid. Luo Xia is her most valued disciple of the fallen ink star. She would never allow Rorschach to die before leaving the battle just because he was stupid. Luo Feng was a little frightened when Babata said it so seriously, and persuaded Luo Xia. Xioxia, Babata is right. The world lord is too far away from us now. Don't think about reaching the sky in one step. Let's move forward step by step. There would be no world without the inner body. Swallowing and clones are the golden horned giant beasts. A clan's exclusive talent. Don't force it. Brother, Babata. I know good and bad. Rorschach said. Of course, he said this, but he was actually very unwilling to do so. Is it really impossible to open up the internal world before reaching the world lord level? In the following days, Rorschach just practiced step by step, and did not try to integrate spiritual power and genetic energy. Seeing this situation, Babata and Luo Feng secretly breathed a sigh of relief. They were afraid that Rorschach would have any whims and really want to open up the inner world at the planet level. That is simply impossible to do. The development of the inner world requires the help of the power of the world from the origin of the universe in order to be completely opened up. The power of the world that only relies on the fusion of one's own mind power and the original force cannot truly create a world within the body. If you want to communicate with the origin of the universe, you must have an understanding of the laws. If the understanding of the laws is not in place, we will not be able to communicate with the origin of the universe. This is also the reason why becoming a realm master requires a deep understanding of a certain lower law. Rorschach's current strength has reached the 8th level of planetary level in spiritual power and the 6th level of warrior, planetary level. As Babata said, the genetic qualifications of Earthlings are too poor. Even with the use of Mu Yajing, he cannot be promoted to the star level in just a few months like his elder brother Luo Feng. However, he was compared with Luo Feng, who had already taken away the golden horned giant beast. If compared with Hong and Lei Shen, Luo Xia's cultivation speed is still very fast. After all, Hong is still stuck at the 6th level of the planetary level, and Lei Shen is also stuck at the 7th level of the planetary level. The further you practice, the harder it is to make progress. It is very abnormal that Luo Xia can catch up with Hong and Lei Shen so quickly and surpass them. If Luo Feng is not counted, Luo Xia's current hard power is the best in the world. That day, Luo Xia was still thinking about how to open up the inner world when he suddenly received a call from his father. "Dad, what's wrong?" When the call was connected, Luo Xia heard some noise from Luo Hongguo's side. "Your sister-in-law is about to give birth, and your brother is not here, you should come back quickly. We are now in the First People's Hospital in the main city." Dad, Luo Hongguo said. "Ah, is your sister-in-law going to give birth?" Luo Xia was stunned. Luo Feng, who heard this next to him, was excited, and his huge body shook the earth. Boom! "Xiao Xia, are you okay?" Hearing the loud noise from Luo Xia's side, Luo Hongguo was startled and said quickly, "If you have something urgent, don't come back yet. Your mother and I will be fine." "I'm fine here." Luo Xia glanced at the extremely excited Luo Feng and said to Luo Hongguo, "I'll go back right away." "Jiangnan First People's Hospital, right?" "I know." After that, he hung up the phone. "Xiao Xia," Luo Feng called Luo Xia. Luo Xia nodded and said, "Brother, don't worry, I'll go back right away. I'll take a few more photos and bring them back to you." "Okay, okay. Go quickly. Remember to tell Su Xian that she has worked hard," Luo Feng said, walking back and forth excitedly. His huge body, more than 100 meters tall, shook the island in the middle of the lake. "Haha, I'm going to be a father. I'm a father." Luo Xia smiled and shook his head. Under the influence of the magnetic field of the planet in his body, he flew into the sky and flew towards Jiangnan Bay City. Jiangnan Bay City, First People's Hospital. Outside an operating room, Luo Hongguo and his friends were standing anxiously, looking into the operating room from time to time. In addition to Luo Xia's family, the Su family also came. However, there were not many of them, only Su Xian's brother Su Gang came. At this time, Su Gang was walking back and forth at the door of the operating room. Mr. Luo Xia, at this time, the hospital director who was waiting at the door of the operating room saw Luo Xia coming and hurriedly greeted him. Luo Xia nodded to the old doctor in a white coat, then looked at Luo Hongguo and asked, "Dad, Mom. How long has my sister-in-law been in?" "Almost an hour," Luo Hongguo said. At this time, Su Gang also saw Luo Xia and hurriedly came up to greet him. "Mr. Luo Xia, you are here. Brother Gang, you are my sister-in-law's brother, you don't need to call me that, just call me Xiao Xia." Luo Xia smiled and said. Su Gang blushed when he thought of threatening Luo Xia in the HR Alliance Mall. He sighed and said with emotion, "Okay, then I will be bold and call you Xiao Xia." Yeah, Luo Xia nodded and looked towards the operating room. Suddenly, the red light in the operating room turned green, and everyone was happy, and then a nurse came out of the operating room. Gong Xinlan hurriedly stepped forward and asked, "Nurse, how is my daughter-in-law?" The nurse took a look at Gong Xinlan and knew that she was the mother of Counselor Luo Feng. She did not dare to neglect her and said with a smile, "Auntie, mother, and child are safe." Ms. Su Xian gave birth to two sons. The eldest son weighed 7.6 jins and the second son weighed 6.1 jins. Gong Xinlan and the others were all overjoyed when they heard it. "That's great." At this time, the door of the operating room opened, and Su Xian was pushed out on the bed. Her face was a little pale, but her complexion was very good. After all, when she was at Luo's house, Gong Xinlan made all kinds of nutritious meals for her every day. Luo Xia also used some plant spirits to strengthen Su Xian's physique according to Babata's instructions. "Xiao Xian, how are you?" Gong Xinlan came forward and asked with concern. Su Xian shook her head slightly and smiled, "Mom, I'm fine." That's good, that's good." Gong Xinlan held Su Xian's hand. "Thank you for your hard work." Su Xian just smiled. "Mrs. Luo, let's send Ms. Su Xian to the ward first," the female nurse said at this time. Okay, okay. Gong Xinlan then let go of Su Xian's hand. The whole family walked towards the ward, and soon, two nurses brought two big fat boys. The two children were pink and tender. As soon as they were brought into the ward, one was held in Gong Xinlan's arms, and the other was placed next to Su Xian, pouting from time to time and sleeping sweetly. This newborn baby looks like a little monkey. Luo Hua approached his mother Gong Xinlan, took a look at his nephew, and said. Gong Xinlan glared at Luo Hua and said, "Children are like this when they are just born. When you and Xioxia were just born, you were much uglier than my grandson." Luo Xia was on the side, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. He was shot even when he was lying down. Luo Hua wiped his nose angrily and walked away. "Xioxia, can't your elder brother come back?" Su Xian, who was lying on the bed, suddenly asked Luo Xia at this time. Luo Xia blinked and said, "My elder brother's mission is a bit difficult. I'm afraid he won't be able to come back in the next 1 or 2 years." "Is that so?" Su Xian lowered his head in disappointment. The atmosphere in the room suddenly became a little depressed. In order to change the subject, Rorschach asked, "By the way, sister-in-law, what do you plan to name these two nephews?" Su Xian thought for a moment and said, "Let's give them a nickname first. As for the big name, wait until your eldest brother comes back." "What's the nickname?" Rorschach asked. Su Xian looked at her youngest son lying beside her, then at her eldest son held by Gong Xinlan, and said, "Let's call them Tuan Tuan and Yuan Yuan. Reunion and reunion. My sister-in-law hopes that her eldest brother can come back and be reunited with her family." Rorschach sighed, feeling a little guilty. In order not to expose any flaws, he moved closer to his mother Gong Xinlan and said, "Mom, you've been hugging me for so long, please give me a hug too." "Okay, you have to hold him like this. The child's bones haven't grown yet, so you have to hold his head." While Gong Xinlan was teaching Luo Xia, she let him hold her grandson, whose nickname was Tuan Tuan. "Du, Tuan Tuan, I am the third uncle." Rorschach teased Tuan Tuan. The child didn't even open his eyes, but when he heard Rorschach's voice, he seemed very happy, and the corners of his mouth actually turned up. On the third day, Su Xian returned home for confinement. Gong Xinlan took care of her with all kinds of delicious food and drinks. Rorschach also stayed at home for a few days and took many photos of the two children before returning to Kiri's Hima. "Tuan Tuan, Yuan Yuan. Look, Xioxia." Luo Feng looked at the photo, his mouth split open, and he smiled extremely ferociously. "Their noses and mouths are very similar to mine, and their eyes are like their mother's. They are so cute." Luo Xia looked at Luo Feng's smile, and the corners of his mouth twitched. Fortunately, the eldest brother's smile was not seen by Tuan Tuan Yuan, otherwise they would burst into tears. Babata sat on Luo Xia's shoulder and looked at Luo Feng giggling while looking at the photos of the two children, and shook his head slightly. Because of the birth of the child, Luo Feng couldn't calm down at all. For 2 or 3 days in a row, he looked at the photos that Luo Xia brought and had a lot of fun. And Rorschach, following the deep pit dug in Kiri's Hima, has returned to the depths of the ground where the fallen ink star once was. In this dark world of 15 kilometers. He sat down cross-legged, ready to try to open up a world inside his body. During those few days at home, Rorschach was not lazy. Instead, he kept deducing in his mind how to open up the world inside his body. Now he is 40% sure that he can open up the world inside his body. Although the 40% certainty is very small, it is already the highest probability of success that Rorschach can deduce now. Let's get started. Taking a deep breath, Rorschach adjusted himself to the best condition and began to try to open up the world inside his body. Under his guidance, a ray of spiritual power separated from the sea of consciousness and slowly flowed into the Danshan along the meridians. In Rorschach's Danshan, there are 5 miniature planets rotating around the first cyan crystal planet. Luoxia thought. On the central blue crystal planet, a force of force suddenly flowed out. Spin. Under his control, the original force and mental power did not immediately touch and merge. Instead, they chased each other and began to spin. Gradually, the original force and mental power seemed to become the yin and yang fish in the Tai Chi diagram. Field. At this time, Rorschach activated the speed field. He did not spread the scope of the domain, but maintained it around him. With the blessing of the domain, Rorschach's neural reaction speed has been greatly improved. The improvement of neural response allows Rorschach to perform more precise operations. 2x stronger. Golden secret patterns filled his body, and a hazy golden light bloomed, making him look like a war Buddha in the darkness. In an instant, his physical fitness and mental power were strengthened and improved. Call. Luoxia slowly exhaled a breath of turbid air, with a high degree of concentration, looking at the spiritual power and original force that had become the yin and yang fish in his danshan, and began to slowly merge them. This step is extremely critical and extremely dangerous. Gradually, the mental power and the force began to contact and merge. Boom! The moment the two forces merged, a wisp of world power was born. At this moment, something new happened in Luoxia's danshan. The power of the world is indeed not something that a planet-level body can withstand. As soon as this ray of world power was born, various cracks appeared in Rorschach's strengthened body. His skin began to crack, his muscles began to tear, his bones began to break. Unparalleled pain impacted Rorschach's spirit. But his will is extremely strong. Even at this moment, he is likely to die. Rorschach was still concentrating, looking at the ray of power of the world that was born. This ray of world power has not been separated, but is wrapped in spiritual power and the original force. They rotate, surrounding the power of the world, restricting the escape of the power of the world, and protecting Rorschach's body at the same time. Because the power of the world is born from the fusion of spiritual power and the force. All three have the same origin. Rorschach wanted to use mental power and the force to limit the power of the world power. It worked. His body was not destroyed by the power of the world immediately. Of course, in this process, Rorschach's force and mental power were extremely consumed. In just a short moment, more than half of his 6th-level planetary force was consumed, and it was about to be exhausted. The mental power is fine. The endless spiritual power ocean in the sea of consciousness can still support consumption. But this is not a solution. If the original force is exhausted and cannot maintain the current balance, the world power will immediately overwhelm his body. It is impossible to open up a world of the inner body of the world master at the planetary level. But I didn't want to open up a real inner world. Luoxia's thinking was extremely clear and calm at this time. He stared at the world power wrapped by mental power and original force, and suddenly compressed the mental power and original force to make them merge more thoroughly. Open. This sound was like the roar of Pangu when he opened the sky. Gods, let there be light. There was a violent explosion in Luoxia's danshan. A wisp of world power was born, and was suppressed and restricted by Luoxia's original force and mental power. But because the world power increased, even if his original force and mental power were of the same source as the world power, the restriction and suppression that could be done were minimal. His body began to collapse. It started to collapse from the genetic level. If he didn't succeed, he might die here. At this critical moment, in Luoxia's sea of consciousness, the ocean of spiritual power boiled up, and the golden sphere burst into an extremely bright light, and an extremely powerful soul force surged from the deepest part. This soul force rushed into Luoxia's danshan. The body that was constantly collapsing due to the world power miraculously stopped at this moment. Luoxia was conscious and saw that the soul power and the world power merged together, and a hole appeared. However, at this moment, an inexplicable mysterious power suddenly descended. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo-Yoon Song. Chapter 126. Under this mysterious power, Rorschach's body seemed to have entered some kind of time-stuck state. He was completely unable to move, and the cell metabolism, blood flow, etc. in his body were all stagnant. As soon as this mysterious force appeared, it entered the hole in Rorschach's stanchion. It seemed to be observing the hole in Rorschach's stanchion, and then it acted on Rorschach's body. Rorschach's consciousness did not fall into a state of time freeze. He felt it clearly. When this force acted on his body that was on the verge of collapse began to heal. At the same time, under this force, the life genes began to improve and became stronger than the genes of ordinary life. 1 times, 2 times, 3 times, 9 times, 10 times. In the end, Rorschach's life gene level reached 10 times that of ordinary life genes. As the life gene improves, Rorschach's warrior realm is also constantly improving. The 7th level of planetary level, the 8th level of planetary level, the 1st level of stellar level. Suddenly, Rorschach's consciousness came to a space filled with countless light spots. Each of these light spots contains incredible power. Rorschach was a little confused. Where is this place? How come my consciousness is here? He looked at those light spots, full of doubts in his heart. What are these light spots? Suddenly, call out. One of the light spots suddenly turned into a stream of light and shot towards Rorschach's consciousness. The speed was far faster than the speed of light. It seemed that the speed of light was no longer the limit speed here. Rorschach didn't even have time to react, the light spot had already rushed into his consciousness. Boom! Pictures quickly passed into Rorschach's consciousness. Rorschach seemed to have seen the beginning of the world, the birth of the universe, endless life multiplying, civilization budding and developing. He saw the destruction of the universe, the withering of life, the destruction of civilization, and the death of stars. Many pictures appeared in Rorschach's consciousness, and then they seemed to be erased and forgotten by him. It seemed that the information of these pictures could not be remembered. Bang! Rorschach's consciousness was kicked out of this space. 15,000 meters underground, Rorschach opened his eyes blankly. He noticed that the mysterious power that descended on him disappeared. Just as it appeared suddenly, it left very suddenly. Rorschach's body, which had been frozen in time, resumed activity. He felt and saw the huge changes taking place in the stanchion within his body, and was a little stunned for a moment. At this time, in his stanchion, the 6 miniature planets had disappeared, replaced by a star-like fireball suspended in his stanchion, which was slowly rotating. And next to this star, there is a hole. When you penetrate the hole with your consciousness, you can see that it is a world with nothing in it, and it is completely empty. The hole is not big, it looks as big as the star next to it. Luoxia thought. This hole immediately erupted with a huge devouring power. Suddenly, the cosmic energy surrounding him poured into his body crazily and entered the hole in his stanchion. After entering the hole, these cosmic energies are transformed into extremely pure force and spiritual power. Then the force and mental power flowed out of the hole, the force merged into the star next to it, and the mental power flowed into the sea of consciousness, strengthening Rorschach's mental power star. After reaching the 1st level of the warrior realm, Rorschach's mental power has also reached the 3rd level of stellar level. The spiritual crystal planet in the sea of consciousness has now turned into a star blooming with light. Surrounding this flame star, there are 2 small stars rotating around it. Sure enough, good fortune and misfortune come together, and good fortune and misfortune depend on each other. Rorschach sighed. Although I have rashly opened up the inner world, no, this is not the real inner world, it should be regarded as the prototype of the inner world. Since it looks like a hole, let's call it the Dongtian world. It is actually the same as the legendary one. What the immortal said about opening up the cave is very similar to. It is extremely dangerous to open up the cave world. I was in a desperate situation and almost died. But in the end, I succeeded and gained a lot. Not only did my strength increase to the star level, the life gene has also reached 10 times that of ordinary life. The life gene level of the golden horned giant beast seems to be 10 times as well. The humanoid golden horned giant beast that Babata joked about has come true. With 10 times his current life genes, his physical fitness is comparable to that of the golden horned giant beast. Of course, for Rorschach, the most important gain is not the improvement of realm or the strengthening of life genes, but the innate secret method brought to him by the light spot in the mysterious space. This is an innate secret method called creation of heaven and earth. This secret talent is very powerful. Follow the information that comes to mind. If Rorschach is powerful enough, he can directly create a world in the outside world that is completely controlled by him. If the enemy falls into it, his whole body's strength will be suppressed and weakened by the power of heaven and earth, and Rorschach will be greatly enhanced. Entering the world he created, the enemy will not be able to use space power, teleport, break through space, etc. Of course, Rorschach is not very strong now. It cannot really create the world. Right now, this innate secret method can only allow Rorschach to cut through space. However, cutting through space is already a very powerful force at Rorschach's level. Cutting space means destroying it from the spatial level. If there is no treasure to resist the power of space, Rorschach's creation of the world will be a real injury. And in the realms of planetary level, star level, etc., who would have treasures that can resist space attacks? Give the innate secret method directly into my consciousness. What just came is the original will of the universe. Rorschach was surprised. He didn't expect that his attempt to open up the inner world at the planet level would actually attract the original will of the universe. This universe has its own original will. In the original work, when Luo Feng's life gene reached the perfect level, the original will of the universe came directly and gave him a powerful innate secret method. I am the universe. So raising the level of my life genes and giving me the innate secret method to create the world is a gift and reward from the universe. Rorschach whispered. He guessed correctly, the mysterious power that just came was the original will of the universe. In the endless years after the birth of the universe, Rorschach was the first being to open up an alternative inner world at the planetary level, the cave world. For this, the original will of the universe came specifically to reward and bestow upon him. It's true that danger and opportunity coexist. Luo Xia sighed with emotion. He did not expect that he would attract the original will of the universe and receive such a big reward. After having the cave world, I can use the innate secret method I learned from the golden horned giant beast, devouring and clone. Rorschach tried to use swallow, and saw a golden secret pattern forming on his stomach, and then the cave world appeared, swallowing up all the cosmic energy around him. As soon as these cosmic energies enter the cave world, they are transformed into spiritual power and original force. Because the cave world is not the real inner world, so it can only swallow the energy of the universe. Rorschach sensed it carefully. Then he confirmed that the swallowing talent he learned from the golden horned giant beast could indeed only be used to devour cosmic energy or some energy crystals, such as wood crystals. And other materials, such as metal, stone, wood, etc., cannot be swallowed by him. Even if it is swallowed into the cave world, he cannot digest it. In the end, I could only vomit it out. Only pure energy substances such as cosmic energy and energy crystals can be swallowed. After this energy enters the cave world, it will be quickly converted into spiritual power and original force by the cave world. This speed of swallowing energy and transforming mental power and original force is more than 10 times faster than the speed at which he practiced and transformed mental power and original force before. Okay, from now on you can rely on the devouring talent to practice. What about the clone talent? Rorschach's thoughts moved slightly, and then, the specific information about the clone talent appeared in his mind. The clone talent has not changed much. Like the golden horned behemoth, he can also give birth to clones at the planet level, universe level, and world lord level. But there is a drawback to my clone talent. Rorschach carefully sensed the information about the clone talent in his mind. If the clone dies, it is completely dead and can no longer be resurrected and condensed. This is somewhat different from the clone talent of the golden horned behemoth. As long as the original core of the golden horned behemoth's clone is immortal and the main body is immortal, even if the clone dies, it can be recondensed and resurrected. As for Rorschach, as long as his clone dies, he really dies. He couldn't revive it anymore. Moreover, after the clone dies, his 3 opportunities to give birth to clones will not be returned. Everything you gain must have something to lose. Luoxia didn't care much about this. After all, the talent of the clone came from the golden horned giant beast. By the way, can my first clone give birth to a golden horned giant beast? Luoxia thought of the golden horned giant beast, and his eyes suddenly lit up. If I can give birth to a golden horned giant beast, wouldn't I have 3 more clones? Damn it! I'm such a genius. Rorschach clapped his hands and stopped staying underground. He flew directly to the ground along the previous passage. Not long after, he was back on Kirishima's ground. It was already dark at this time. Under the bright stars, Luo Feng's huge body crawled in the darkness, like a towering mountain peak in the mist, looming. Brother! Luoxia flew to Luo Feng's side and shouted. Zioxia, what are you? Luo Feng's eyes moved away from the child's photo and landed on Luoxia. He keenly discovered that Rorschach's life breath had changed. It seems more perfect. And this feeling of a little more perfect is brought about by the improvement of the level of life genes. Brother, give me a drop of your blood. Rorschach said. His clone talent is the same as that of the golden horned behemoth. As long as he obtains some of the opponent's body tissue, he can directly copy and breed it. What do you want my blood for? Although Luo Feng was confused, he still opened his palm with his sharp fingers and squeezed out a drop of blood. Swallow. Rorschach immediately used his devouring talent, and a golden secret pattern appeared on his belly. Then the cave world appeared and sucked in the blood of the golden horned giant beast. Luo Feng was startled. What is this? Ha ha ha, big brother, I opened up a cave world in my body, Luoxia explained, so now I can also use the devouring and clone talents of the golden horned beast. Babata, who was playing games in the virtual space, was so scared when he heard this voice that his hands trembled and the game character he controlled died. She didn't bother to restart the game, flew out of the wristband, looked at Luoxia and asked. What did you say just now? Luoxia looked at the stunned Luo Feng and Babata, repeated, and said. I opened up a prototype of the world in my body at the Danshan position, the cave world. So now I can use the talents of the golden horned beast. Babata widened his eyes and just looked at Luoxia. After a while, she said weakly, didn't I warn you not to try it? I'm fine, right? Luoxia smiled embarrassedly. Babata shouted, if something happens, you will die. Damn it! I knew I shouldn't tell you the information of the Realm Master level. If you die, only your elder brother and I will be left on Yunmo Star. Luo Feng also looked at Luoxia seriously and said, Xiaoxia, you can't take such risks next time. If something happens to you, how should I explain to my parents and Ahua? He just thought about it for a while. If Luoxia died, he felt panic and fear. He only has 2 younger brothers, Luohua and Luoxia. And Luoxia has always been with him. If Luo Xia really died, Luo Feng really didn't know what to do. I know, elder brother. Luo Xia bowed his head and admitted his mistake. Babata asked at this time, you said you opened up a cave world. Luo Xia nodded and explained to Babata and Luo Feng. Of course, he couldn't say anything about the original will of the universe. It's not that he didn't want to say it, but the universe didn't let him say it. So Luo Xia simply explained the cave world in his body. After hearing what Rorschach said, Babata couldn't help but stare and sigh, you are really amazing. Can you succeed like this? Rorschach smiled. Luo Feng was also amazed and felt very fortunate. He reminded again, Xiao Xia, you can't take such risks next time. I know, big brother. Luo Xia nodded and smiled, there shouldn't be a next time. Babata rolled his eyes at him and said, you still want a next time? Luo Xia, you can't be so lucky every time. As she said, she asked again, you and Luo Feng just took the blood of the golden horned beast, so are you planning to breed the golden horned beast's clone? Luo Xia nodded, yes, and according to my estimation, after the golden horned beast's clone is successfully bred, I can have 3 more chances to breed a clone. Babata clapped his hands and said excitedly. That's right. Because your clone and the original body can exist at the same time, the inner world of the golden horned beast and your cave world may not be shared. In other words, the golden horned beast you bred will also have 3 chances to breed a clone. Haha, she looked at Luo Xia, very excited, Luo Xia, you are really a genius. Against the sky. Luo Xia looked at Babata with a smile. Her mood changed too quickly. Luo Feng asked, Xiao Xia, how long will it take for you to breed a clone of the golden horned beast? Wait a minute. Luo Xia said, closing his eyes, and his consciousness entered the cave world of Danshan. In this empty world, a drop of blood of the golden horned beast was suspended in the void. Grow, Luo Xia activated his clone talent. The golden secret pattern covered Luo Xia's whole body. Then, the force star and the telekinetic star flowed out strands of force and telekinesis. These 2 forces entered the cave world, wrapped the blood of the golden horned beast, and gradually formed an egg, on which appeared the same golden secret pattern as on Luo Xia's body. In the egg, the blood of the golden horned beast was decomposed into the original genetic material. The golden egg absorbed these genetic materials and began to breed the clone of the golden horned beast. Luo Xia sensed it, opened his eyes and said to Luo Feng and Babata, if it is allowed to breed naturally, it will take about 130 years to breed successfully. 130 years, Luo Feng was a little surprised, so long. Babata said, in fact, 130 years is not a long time. After all, Luo Xia's cave world is not a real inner world, and it will have defects and limitations. Moreover, the body of the golden horned beast is extremely strong. It is one of the top bloodlines in the universe. Is the breeding time of more than 130 years very long? As she said, she looked at Luo Xia and asked, but you are talking about is there any way to speed up the breeding process? Luo Xia hummed and said, as long as there is enough energy supply, I can speed up the hatching process. Energy, Babata asked, any energy will do? Mu-Ya crystal is also okay. Well, if there is enough Mu-Ya crystal, I can shorten its breeding process to 1 or 2 years. Luo Xia nodded and said. Babata looked tangled and said, the Mu-Ya crystals I have here were originally intended to be used to cultivate you 2 brothers and the Mo-Yun vine. The cultivation of the Mo-Yun vine, in particular, consumes the most Mu-Ya crystals. Luo Feng said at this time, compared with the golden horned beast, the growth of the Mo-Yun vine can be a little slower. Babata, why not give the remaining Mu-Ya crystals to Xiao Xia first? If his golden horned beast can be bred quickly, it can greatly enhance his combat effectiveness. That's right. Babata nodded and looked at Luo Xia. Then use the remaining Muita crystals to speed up the hatching of the golden horned beast's clone. The Muita crystals I originally saved were just enough for you to cultivate to the 3rd level of the star level. Now that you are all at the star level, I still think that these Muita crystals can be used to cultivate the Moyun vines of the 2 of you. But Luo Feng is right. Compared with the golden horned beast's clone, the growth of the Moyun vine can be slow. She took out a Muita crystal from the storage space. Take one and try it first. Luo Xia nodded, activated the swallowing power, and swallowed the Muita crystal into the cave world. Under his control, the cave world quickly digested the energy contained in the Muita crystal and used this energy to hatch the golden horned beast's clone. Under Rorschach's induction, the process of nurturing the clone of the golden horned beast was indeed shortened. I was dazzled by the talent of the clone of the golden horned beast. It has been corrected and is indeed planetary level, not stellar level. I am very sorry for this. Finally, thank the book friend for the 100 reading points. Thank you very much. At the same time, thank all readers for subscribing and voting. Thank you very much. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 127. In the following days, Luo Xia and Luo Feng still stayed on the Mist Island, constantly nurturing their clones. Diamond Suit. However, Luo Feng's Earthling clone was almost nurtured. According to his estimate, the Earthling clone could be nurtured successfully in less than 5 days. On this day, Luo Xia and Luo Feng were fighting and sparring with each other. The man and the beast fought from the island to the lake, and from the lake to the sky. From Babata's perspective, the two were like 2 rays of light, chasing and colliding with each other between the sky and the earth. The clouds in the sky were scattered by them. The earth was shaking because of their collision. Every time the 2 brothers collided, terrible sounds and energy tides would erupt. The entire lake was set off by terrifying waves because of their fight. Boom! Luo Xia and Luo Feng collided again. Neither of them used any skills, just pure physical wrestling. After the life gene level was raised to 10 times, Luo Xia's physical fitness reached the same level as the golden horned beast. Now the 2 collided, and the air was hit by visible ripples. The terrifying energy burst created a large pit with a diameter of hundreds of meters in the lake below, and the huge waves spread out and surged to the surroundings. Xiao Xia, your physical strength is so strong now. Luo Feng was very surprised. I didn't expect that Luo Xia could compete with the golden horned beast with physical strength without using any skills. Luo Xia just became a human-shaped golden horned beast, as Babata said. Brother, be careful, I'm going to get serious next. Luo Xia smiled and shouted. Luo Feng's dark golden eyes condensed. The next second, Luo Xia's body suddenly appeared with golden secret patterns. 2 times enhancement. Divine Wind Leg. Whoosh. Luo Xia's body suddenly disappeared from Luo Feng's sight, leaving a residual image on the spot. Boom. Then, a terrifying wave, accompanied by an explosion, came from Luo Feng's head. So fast. Luo Feng was secretly surprised, but he was not panicked at all. If it was before, he might not be able to react to Luo Xia's attack. But now that he has taken over the body of the golden horned beast, his strength has also increased to the star level. Therefore, Luo Feng can react quickly to Luo Xia's terrifying kick. He controlled the tail like a dragon's tail, with an afterimage, and swung it towards Luo Xia through the air. The thick tail hit, and the speed was incredibly fast. If Luo Xia kicked again, he would be hit by the tail. Luo Xia had to give up this attack. 16 times the speed burst. Luo Xia narrowly avoided Luo Feng's tail attack, and then flashed to Luo Feng's side as if teleporting, and punched out. This punch was dark and dark, with a terrifying strong wind. Before the fist landed on the body of the golden horned beast, the hard and thick scales felt the terrifying energy. Buzz. The golden horned beast suddenly shone with golden light. At this moment, Luo Feng also activated his enhanced talent. His speed suddenly increased, his wings that covered the sky and the sun flapped, and his huge body flexibly moved sideways to avoid Luo Xia's attack this time. The two brothers fought fiercely in the sky, and their speed and strength soared to the extreme. At their current speed, even if Hong and Lei Shen were on the scene, they could not catch their figures with the naked eye. Luo Feng and Luo Xia were too fast. Sonic clouds exploded in the sky from time to time. The screams brought by the movement of the two people, and the sound waves generated swept in all directions like waves. In the rumbling sound of sonic booms, Luo Feng and Luo Xia collided for hundreds of rounds in a blink of an eye. Babata watched intently from below, in awe. Too amazing. I thought that the genetic qualifications of Earthlings would limit Luo Xia's growth, but I didn't expect that after he opened up the cave world, his life genes were greatly improved and evolved, and now they are almost at the same level as the life genes of the golden horned beast. Without the limitation of life genes, Luo Xia's road to becoming a strong man will be smooth from now on. Master, I can already see the scene of the meteorite star being carried forward in the hands of your two disciples. Babata was very happy. In the air, the two brothers were still fighting fiercely, but soon, the battle was over. When Luo Xia exerted the power of the domain, Luo Feng was kicked from the sky into the lake by Luo Xia. Luo Xia's super speed domain is too strong. With the blessing of the super speed domain, Luo Xia's speed has increased a lot. Even if Luo Feng madly increased his speed, he still couldn't keep up with Luo Xia's speed. And Luo Xia also has a 16-fold burst skill. When the speed reaches the limit, the power potential energy obtained is exploded by 16 times the skill. Even the golden horned beast can't withstand this blow. Boom! The huge body of the golden horned beast fell straight from the sky like a ray of light, causing layers of air vibrations. The lake splashed thousands of meters of water. The golden horned beast was kicked directly to a depth of more than 1,000 meters underground before it barely stopped. So strong. The golden horned beast, which was submerged by countless rocks and mud, flashed a light in its dark golden pupils. Luo Feng was full of emotion. He thought that after taking over the body of the golden horned beast, he could surpass his younger brother Luo Xia. He didn't expect that he would surpass him, but it didn't take long for Luo Xia to catch up again. Now Rorschach has become stronger than him again. Boom! The golden horned giant beast burst out of the ground and flew into the air. Luo Xia came over, looked at his eldest brother with some embarrassment, and said, "Brother, are you okay? I got high just now and I couldn't hold back." Luo Feng shook his head and said with a smile, "I'm fine. This is how you fight. And through the battle with you just now, I now have some understanding of absolute space. As he was talking, Luo Feng's expression suddenly changed. In the world inside his body, on the metal continent surrounded by golden mist, the oval golden egg that gave birth to Luo Feng's earthling body suddenly appeared cracks. Click, click, click. A hand suddenly stretched out from the eggshell. Immediately afterwards, the eggshell shattered completely, and a completely naked, muscular man with short black hair floated in the air. It's Luo Feng's earthly body. He opened his eyes, which were as deep as the sea. Luo Feng looked around and said in surprise, "Is this the world inside my body?" He didn't stay in the inner world for long. After exclaiming, he disappeared into thin air. At the same moment, boom! A golden horned giant beast with a body length of more than 180 meters appears on the metal continent of the inner world. Over carries him. Luo Xia looked at the sudden appearance of Luo Feng's body and was stunned for a moment. "Brother, has your clone been conceived successfully?" There was unconcealable excitement in Luo Feng's eyes. He nodded and said, "Well, the pregnancy was successful. I can go home to see Su Xian and the children." Very good. Luo Xia was also happy for Luo Feng. but before I go back, I'll first improve the strength of this body. Luo Feng said. Then he thought, boom, boom. In the inner world of the golden horned beast, a large amount of golden mist was transmitted to Luo Feng's earthly body. These golden mist are atomized metallic cosmic energy. They quickly gathered in Luo Feng's Danshan, and soon formed miniature planets. 1, 2, 3. Planet level 3. Nowadays, Luo Feng's earthly body can only withstand so much energy. If he wants to improve it, he must strengthen his body and increase the carrying capacity of his Danshan. Same moment. Souls that have reached the third level of the stellar level begin to absorb the cosmic energy from the outside world crazily. These cosmic energies were sucked into Luo Feng's original core, tempered, and then transformed into spiritual power and integrated into Luo Feng's sea of consciousness, forming planets that revolved around a blood-red planet in the center. Planet level 6. Why is my mental strength 3 levels higher than my physical strength? Luo Feng was a little surprised. Generally speaking, mental power is at most 2 levels higher than physical power. Babata explained, because the Vajra body you obtained from your previous promotion to the planetary level has greatly improved your physical quality, so you can withstand 1 level more mental power than other mentalists. Luo Feng suddenly said, so that's it? Because of the body-stealing golden horned giant beast, he had forgotten the special abilities of his earthly body. Brother, please put your clothes on first. Luo Xia took out Luo Feng's previous clothes from the storage space, including the black god suit and Moyun vine, as well as the wrist guard that Babata resided in. Luo Feng nodded and quickly got dressed. Xioxia, let's go home. He couldn't wait. Seeing his appearance, Luo Xia smiled and nodded. Boom. Luo Feng's body shook and he rushed into the sky. Luo Xia followed closely behind him and soon caught up with Luo Feng. The two brothers went hand in hand and flew towards Jiangnan Bay City. And just when the two brothers were happy to go home, a starry sky far away from the earth. The space rippled like water waves, and at the same time, a flying saucer-shaped silver-gray spaceship appeared out of thin air. When the water-like space ripples dissipated, the spacecraft was quietly suspended in the universe. Captain! Captain! We've escaped! We've escaped! Ha ha ha! Finally escaped! In the spaceship, some humans were shouting excitedly, speaking a certain language of countless human races in the universe. There were 9 of them in total. 8 of them were crew members. 1 person is the captain. The man called captain is about 9 meters tall, wearing a silver-gray battle uniform. He is tall and handsome, with slightly pointed ears and a trace of red light in his eyes. Listening to the crew's shouts, the captain showed an evil smile and said, I didn't expect there to be a wormhole here. After the spacecraft's B-class energy crystals were exhausted, our spacecraft was unable to travel through the universe. There is no end to our destiny. I didn't expect that we were trying to survive and broke into an asteroid field, but unexpectedly broke into a natural wormhole in it. Haha, I don't know how many light years this wormhole travels. Unless those bastards can also break into the wormhole we passed through, they will never be able to catch up with us. Atuka! The captain suddenly shouted. Captain, a child's portrait appeared on the console screen, and she responded crisply. The captain ordered, hurry up and mark the coordinates of the wormhole here. There are no such coordinates in our star map. Obviously, the entire Black Dragon Mountain Empire does not care about this wormhole. He looked at Atuka on the screen. After recording the coordinates, confirm our current location immediately, and then notify the family. Yes. The child's head on the screen responded loudly. Suddenly, Atuka screamed, oh! Captain, this is the void area of the Milky Way. The captain was shocked. What? Atuka said, Captain, according to the records, this starry sky is the void area. It is a void area that cannot be determined by space shuttle and cannot be entered. The captain was not panicked when he heard this, but was overjoyed and shouted excitedly, "Ha ha ha, it's really a void area? Then we will send it, send it." He waved his hand and ordered, "Let's go. Let's go." A long time ago, this area was originally controlled by the Silver Blue Empire. But since it was occupied by an incredible strong man, that strong man even entered the dark universe and covered the spatial coordinates of this star field. The spacecraft outside could not reach the star field at all. The captain remembered it very clearly. More than 30,000 years ago, it seemed that there was a message that the strong man had fallen, and this void area became an ownerless star field. If they can find the legacy of that powerful man, won't they make a fortune? Dad. Mom. Su Xian. Luo Feng fell from the sky, shouting, "I'm back." In the room, Luo Hongguo and his friends were teasing their grandson, and suddenly heard Luo Feng's familiar voice, and they were stunned. Luo Hongguo hesitated and said, "Is it Xiao Feng's voice?" Gong Xinlan nodded, stood up excitedly, and said, "It's Xiao Feng's voice. He's finally back." Su Xian, who was sitting on the sofa on the other side, heard the words and stopped typing on the laptop. "Luo Feng, he's back." Pop. The door opened and Luo Feng walked into the house. "Dad, Mom, Su Xian, I'm back," he shouted again excitedly. Luo Hongguo saw Luo Feng coming back, his eyes reddened. "Bastard, you're finally back." "Xiao Feng, it's good that you're back." "It's good." Gong Xinlan said, winked at her old man, and then pulled Luo Hongguo away. In the living room, Luo Feng and Su Xian stood up and looked at each other. "Su Xian, I'm back," he said with red eyes. Su Xian was crying, but she smiled and said, "Well, I've been waiting for you." On this day, the Luo family prepared a large table of dishes. Luo Hua, who had moved out, brought his girlfriend Zhen Nan back for dinner. After dinner, Luo Feng held a child in one hand, smiling uncontrollably, and said to a child, "Call Dad, call Dad." The child was just born, not even 1 year old, how could he call people? When they heard Luo Feng's voice, they just laughed, and the second child Yuan even reached out to touch the face of his old father Luo Feng. Luo Feng was not annoyed, and let his son's little hand scratch his face. Luo Xia leaned comfortably on the sofa, watching his elder brother Luo Feng's happy and blissful appearance, and couldn't help but asked with a smile, "Brother, my sister-in-law said that she will wait for you to come back to name Tuan Tuan and Yuan. Have you decided what to name them?" "Tuan Tuan and Yuan are just nicknames. And Luo Tuan and Luo Yuan don't sound very nice." Luo Feng looked at the two children in his arms and said, "I've thought about it. Tuan Tuan will be called Luo Ping in the future, and Yuan will be called Luo Hai in the future. I hope they live in a peaceful world and grow up happily and healthily." Luo Ping and Luo Hai. Luo Xia nodded, stepped forward and snatched the little nephew Luo Hai from Luo Feng's hand into his arms. "Give me one too. This kid likes me very much, right, Xiao Hai?" he teased little Luo Hai. Little Luo Hai laughed happily, and his milk teeth came out. Soon after, Luo Feng and Su Xian got married and held a wedding ceremony. The wedding scene was extremely festive and grand. Because Luo Feng is now a planetary level warrior, almost all the counselors were present at the wedding. Hong and Thor also attended the wedding. "Rorschach, what are you and your elder brother doing recently?" At the wedding banquet, Rorschach sat at the same table with Hong and Thor. Hong couldn't help but ask with a smile because they hadn't seen each other for a long time. Then he looked at Rorschach, who seemed to have been reborn, and added, "I feel that you have become much stronger, and seem to be stronger than me and Thor." Because Rorschach restrained his breath, Hong and Thor didn't sense Rorschach's current specific strength. Thor also patted Rorschach's shoulder at this time and said with a smile, I haven't seen you for a long time. Why do I feel that you are more handsome and perfect than before? Is it my illusion? Rorschach smiled and knew that the reason they had this feeling was entirely because their life genes had been improved. My elder brother and I practice at home when we have nothing to do, and occasionally go to the sea to find trouble with those monsters. He explained simply. It's not good to talk about the golden horned beast. However, because Luo Xia found the golden horned beast early and sealed it, helping Luo Feng to seize the body, the earth did not suffer a disaster. The strong men who would die in the original work are now alive and well. There is peace on the earth. Except for some third-level and second-level beast tides that occasionally occur, there are no major wars. I also heard about the last time you fought in the sea alone. Hong nodded. It seems that you also killed a Beast King level monster in the deep sea. Hong was aware of the killing of the Beast King level sea beast through the instrument that detects the breath of life. At that time, Hongdu was shocked and contacted the Chinese side, only to find out that Luo Xia had gone to the sea alone. He didn't even expect Rorschach to be so courageous. One person dares to run into the sea to find trouble with those sea beasts. There are many monsters in the deep sea. If they are surrounded, even with his and Thor's strength, they may fall. At that time, Rorschach's strength was only at the first or second level of planetary level, right? I really like your boy's courage. The god of thunder laughed loudly, hugged Luo Xia's shoulders, and drank a glass of wine. Brother Hong and I would not dare to go into the deep sea alone if we are not prepared. Luo Xia took a sip of wine and said with a smile, if you don't push yourself, you don't know where the limit is. At that time, I was also red-eyed. I felt that the monsters couldn't come and leave whenever they wanted, so I killed them back. When I came back to my senses, I was already in the deep sea. A light flashed in Hong's eyes and he asked, at that time, you should have understood the realm, right? He believed that without the power of the domain, Rorschach would not have asked a big person to kill him into the deep sea. Thor was surprised. Good boy, do you already own a domain? Hong smiled and raised the wine glass in front of him, took a sip, and then said. When he first arrived at the elite training camp, I noticed that he had touched a hint of the realm. Now that he has entered the planetary level, he should have a realm, but I don't know what realm it is. It's the realm of speed. Rorschach didn't intend to hide it and said with a smile. Hong and Thor were stunned. Speed domain. Rorschach said, to be precise, its full name is the Wind God Speed Field. It can greatly increase my speed and nerve reaction speed. It is also because of this field that I dare to go to the deep sea alone. Hong and Lei Shen suddenly realized, no wonder. If there is such a field that increases speed, the monsters in the deep sea will really have nothing to do with Rorschach. After all, he can't be defeated, so he can completely open the realm and escape. Luo Xia chatted with Hong and Lei Shen, and the atmosphere was harmonious. Others were a little surprised to see Luo Xia chatting and drinking with Hong and Lei Shen, the strongest and second strongest people in the world. The wedding banquet ended quickly in a happy atmosphere for both the guests and the host. Hong and Lei Shen also left directly after the wedding banquet. Both of them are busy people. Not only do they have to practice every day, but they also find time to manage the Palace of War and their respective martial arts schools. After Luo Feng and Su Xian got married, they moved out, and Extreme Martial Arts prepared a wedding room for them in Minjiao community. Two old people, Luo Hongguo and Gong Xinlin, lived with Luo Xia in the old house. As for Luo Hua, he moved to another villa early because of his girlfriend Zhen Nan. He has now become a warrior. Although he has only reached the physical fitness of an intermediate warrior, he can also buy a villa in Minjiao community. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 128. The days on earth are peaceful. Diamond suit, diamond suit, diamond suit. After Luo Feng and Su Xian got married, nothing major happened in the world. Both Luo Xia and Luo Feng practiced step by step under Babata's arrangements. Just because the Mui crystal is now supplied to the cave world to breed golden horned beast clones, Luo Xia's cultivation speed has slowed down. As for Luo Feng, as long as he swallows metal and improves the world inside his body, his strength will increase accordingly. Moreover, there was also a large amount of black iron and black iron essence brought back by Rorschach and Babata from Mars, and his strength improved quickly. 1 year later, Rorschach's strength could reach the second level of stellar level. The body of Luo Feng's golden horned beast has reached the third level of stellar level. The bodies of people on Earth have also reached the 9th level of the spiritual master's planetary level and the 6th level of the warrior's planetary level. And when Luo Xia and Luo Feng were working hard in the starry sky of the universe, the silver gray spaceship is constantly approaching the Earth. Inside the spaceship, in a lounge, a handsome man named Captain was sitting on a chair with his eyes closed. You can see that on his wrist, the indicator light of the auxiliary optical brain is shining faintly. This means that the captain's consciousness is no longer in reality, but has entered the virtual universe network. The virtual universe network spreads throughout the universe. All life forms and races can enter the virtual universe network anytime and anywhere as long as they open an account in the virtual universe network, and meet and communicate with people who are tens of millions of light years away or hundreds of millions of light years away. And the virtual universe network is 100% realistic. This means that what you can do in the real universe can also be done in the virtual universe network. But suddenly, the auxiliary light brain indicator on the captain's wrist dimmed. He opened his eyes, filled with joy. Although I spent some money, I finally bought a star map of this void area in the Milky Way millions of years ago. The captain looked at the star map he had just bought and asked the spacecraft's intelligent Atuka, search for me, how many resource planets and how many life planets are there in this star field? Atuka's virtual image popped up from her wrist, and she replied, Captain. After scanning, there are a total of 61 resource planets and 2 life planets in this star field. The captain's eyes lit up, 2 living planets? Then I'll make a lot of money. In the universe, the price of a living planet is very expensive. If there were some special products and not so strong natives on this living planet, they could be sold to slave traders and make a lot of money. The captain asked, Atuka, calculate the time it takes for the spacecraft to fly to the 2 planets. The spacecraft's intelligent Atuka replied directly, Captain, at the current sublight speed of our spacecraft, it will take 136 years to fly to life planet number 1. If we fly to life planet number 2, it will only take 2 years and 8 months. No need to choose now. The captain directly ordered, fly to life planet number 2 at full speed. I hope there are some good goods on this planet. If there is no good goods, then the entire planet will be sold directly. Yes, Captain. The spacecraft responded intelligently, and then controlled the spacecraft and set off towards what they called life planet number 2, the Earth. No one on Earth can know what is happening in the universe. Rorschach does know that after the crisis of the golden horned behemoth, the Earth will usher in another wave of crises. Crisis from the universe. However, he didn't remember the relevant original plot very clearly. He could no longer remember when the aliens arrived. So now, he can only urge Babata to repair the Black Dragon Mountain X-81 space adventure spacecraft as soon as possible. As long as the spacecraft is repaired, they can enter the starry sky. At that time, as long as the Earth is purchased first, the Earth will be temporarily safe under the laws of the Silver Blue Empire and the Black Dragon Mountain Empire. Babata, when can you repair that Black Dragon Mountain X-81? Rorschach asked. Babata's only reply was, come on, come on. Rorschach was a little speechless. A month ago, you had these 2 words, so how quickly can you fix it? Babata glanced at Rorschach guiltily, and then said, it will take at least 2 months. The reason why He Longshan X-81 was damaged in the first place. She has a certain responsibility. If she hadn't underestimated the intelligence of the spacecraft and let it activate the self-destruction program, the damage to the Black Dragon Mountain spaceship would not have been so serious. Okay. Luoxia nodded, her expression moved slightly, and she looked towards the door of the villa and saw a sturdy child running towards him, shouting, "Third uncle, third uncle." Luoxia knelt down, held the little kid running over like the wind in his arms, and shouted, "Tell me, what do you want to do today?" Behind him, Luo Feng held his eldest son and looked helplessly at his younger son moving around in Luoxia's arms. Luo Hai looked at Luoxia, pointed his little finger to the sky, and said with a smile, "Uncle Third, please take me to fly." "Fly? You want to go to heaven?" Luoxia laughed and flew up to the sky with Luo Hai, who was more than 1 year old. "Uncle Third will satisfy you." "Oh! Oh Fei!" Luo Hai shouted excitedly in Luoxia's arms. After a while, Rorschach brought him down from the sky. The little kid immediately broke away from Rorschach's arms, ran to his twin brother, and showed off, "Brother! Brother! Did you see it? I flew. Flying to the sky." Luo Ping looked at his brother who was showing off and curled his lips. Although the two brothers are twins, their personalities are completely different. Luo Ping's personality is more like Su Xian, calm and reserved. Luo Hai's personality is more like Luo Feng, usually very out of the box and likes excitement. For example, Luo Ping is not keen on the matter of heaven. Last time Luoxia took the two brothers to fly up to the sky for a spin. When they came down, Luo Ping's face was pale. Only Luo Hai was excited and wanted to pester Luoxia to take him flying again. Luo Feng patted his youngest son on the head and said, "Okay, you and your brother go to play nearby, and I'll have a chat with your third uncle." "Oh, Dad." Luo Hai was still very obedient. After Luo Feng finished speaking, he took Luo Ping aside to play. "Brother, what's the matter?" Luoxia asked Luo Feng. Luo Feng smiled and said, "It's nothing special. It's just that Xiaohei is clamoring to come to you. I have nothing to do at home, so I brought them two here." Luoxia glanced at Luo Ping and Luo Hai over there. Although the two children are only more than 1 year old, because they have inherited Luo Feng's excellent genes, their physical fitness at this time is enough to defeat some 11 or 12-year-old children. When they grow older, their physical fitness will directly exceed the record set by Rorschach. "Xiao Hai really likes me," Luoxia said with a smile. The two brothers stood together, basking in the sun, watching the two children chasing each other and chatting. By the way, Babata said that in 2 months, the Helongshan X-81 spacecraft will be successfully repaired. By then, will my brother and I go to the universe? Rorschach said suddenly. Luo Feng was a little surprised when he heard this. Is the spaceship going to be repaired? He thought for a moment, nodded and said, "Well, I'll go with you then." Rightward arrow. He was not at ease letting Luoxia go alone. Another 2 months passed. In the universe, the silver gray spaceship is still approaching the Earth. On Earth, Rorschach was practicing in the gravity chamber. Babata's voice suddenly sounded, "Rorschach! Rorschach!" Rorschach smiled and asked, "Is the spaceship repaired?" Babata said excitedly, "Yes, it's fixed. The auxiliary power system of Helongshan X-81 has been completed. Since then, all functional hardware of the spacecraft has been repaired. We can go to the universe now." Luoxia was a little excited after hearing this. Okay. I'm going to call my brother now. We'll go to the universe later. Going to the universe this time is different from the last time I went to Mars. According to what Babata said before, they are going out this time to a superplanet 320,000 light-years away from the Earth, a superplanet that is thousands of times more prosperous than the capital planet of the Silver Blue Empire. There are many powerful people gathered there, and there are all kinds of races and lives in the universe. Rorschach and the others will come into contact with aliens this time. Don't be anxious, Babata said, it's already a little late today. You should tell Luo Feng first and let him make preparations. We will set off tomorrow. Rorschach took a deep breath and nodded. He also felt a little excited. But soon we will be able to truly travel through the mysterious and vast universe. Who can not be excited? Brother, Babata has repaired the spaceship. Can we leave tomorrow? Luo Xia called Luo Feng. Luo Feng glanced at the two children who were already asleep on the bed, walked out of the room quietly, closed the door, and replied, no problem, I'll tell your sister-in-law and we'll leave tomorrow. After hanging up the phone with Luo Xia, Luo Feng returned to the bedroom. Su Xian was lying on the bed in her pajamas and was watching a TV series. When she heard Luo Feng's return, she smiled and asked, are they asleep? Asleep, Luo Feng nodded, got on the bed and held Su Xian in his arms. Su Xian leaned against Luo Feng and chuckled, Xiaoping and Xiaohe seem to like Dad more. They only want you to read them bedtime stories before they are willing to lie in bed. Luo Feng smiled proudly, kissed Su Xian on the forehead, and said, who asked me to be their father? After the couple had a conversation, Luo Fengke said, Xiao Xia and I are going out tomorrow. Su Xian was stunned and asked, going out? Going to do something? How long will it take? About a month, Luo Feng said uncertainly. Su Xian blinked, a month? So long, it won't be another mysterious mission like yours before, right? Luo Feng scratched his head and said, well, it's that kind of mission. I promise that I will be back on time in a month. Su Xian glanced at Luo Feng and nodded without asking any more questions, well, I understand. The children and I will wait for your return at home. Then she said with some emotion, but you have to go for so long, tonight. In the room of two children. Luo Hai's eyes were wide open and he was not asleep at all. He had very good hearing. At this time, he whispered to Luo Ping next to him, brother, Dad seems to be bullying Mom again. Luo Ping rolled his eyes at Luo Hai and said, sleep. Dad will not bully Mom. But I heard everything. I'll let you sleep. Oh. As an older brother with a calm personality, Luo Ping can still suppress Luo Hai. Early the next morning, after breakfast, Luo Xia and Luo Feng said goodbye to their families. Amidst the excited screams of the little kid Luo Hai, they both flew into the sky and disappeared from everyone's sight in an instant. Thousands of meters in the air. Rorschach asked Babata to take out the Black Dragon Mountain X-81 spacecraft. The flying saucer-shaped black spacecraft is so huge that if stealth is turned on, it will be discovered by satellites on the Earth in an instant. The outer hatch opened, and Luo Xia and Luo Feng quickly flew inside. After the hatch was closed, the black spacecraft immediately broke through the air and quickly flew towards the outer space of the Earth. The command room of the Black Dragon spacecraft. Luo Xia and Luo Feng were dressed in battle armor and sat comfortably on chairs. On the screen of the console, the little face of the demon Babata appeared. She said proudly, we have left the Earth now. Luo Feng nodded and ordered, open the exterior scene, 100% simulation. The command room suddenly disappeared, and what came into view was the boundless starry sky and a huge blue planet behind it. Brother, are you nervous? Rorschach asked with a smile. Luo Feng nodded, this is the first time we have left the Earth and gone to other planets with life. I always feel a little uneasy. Babata chuckled and said, it's not surprising to be nervous. After all, excluding the remains of alien civilizations on the Earth, this is your first time in contact with other life forms in the universe. It's normal to be nervous. Luo Feng nodded, looked at the dark and silent universe around him, and asked, Babata, hasn't the spaceship reached the speed of light yet? Babata said, He Longshan X-81 is just a C5 class spacecraft. Although it is a relatively high-end spacecraft in the Black Dragon Mountain Empire, its acceleration is incomparable to that of the fallen Ink star. It will take a while to reach the speed of light. After a pause, she continued, "Didn't you notice? Even if the spaceship is flying at high speed, your own gravity will not change. This is the automatic gravity adjustment function of the Black Dragon Mountain spacecraft. This function is only available in high-end spaceships. If it were an ordinary spaceship, when it accelerates to the speed of light, you still need to enter the safety cabin, otherwise your body will be torn apart by the gravity brought by the speed." Luo Fen nodded suddenly. "This is my first time on a spaceship, and I didn't even notice the change in gravity." As he spoke, Babata suddenly started counting down. 12 seconds until the spacecraft reaches the speed of light. 10. 9. 2. 1. Luo Xia and Luo Feng looked outside. They could no longer see the planet clearly with the naked eye. They could only see that the surrounding starry sky had become completely blurred. Gradually, only darkness remained in their field of vision. It was like being swallowed up by darkness. If a person whose mind is not strong enough encounters such a thing for the first time, he may feel palpitation and panic. From a third perspective, you can see that in the dark cosmic starry sky, the completely blurred figure of He Longshan suddenly disappeared in the slightly rippling space. Just like Babata's popular science in the underground. When the spacecraft reaches the speed of light, it disappears from the universe and enters the dark universe. Boom! The spacecraft vibrated slightly, and this vibration lasted for more than 10 seconds. At this time, Babata on the console screen shouted, "The space shuttle has been successful and we have entered the dark universe. Close the exterior simulation." The missing command room reappeared. Luo Feng looked at Babata in confusion. "Dark universe? What is that?" Babata said, "The dark universe is where we are now. When the speed of an object in the real universe reaches the speed of light, it will enter the dark universe. Now the spacecraft is flying at the speed of light and cannot capture the exterior scenes. It needs to slow down before recapturing the exterior scenes. Simulation, let me directly simulate some scenes of the dark universe for you to see." Following Babata's words, some gorgeous scenery appeared on the screen in front of Rorschach and Luo Feng. In the vast space, there were light spots that were shining like fireflies. These light spots were spread throughout the dark universe, making this place look like a sea of light spots. Babata continued to explain, "The coordinates of the dark universe correspond to the original universe we live in, which is the real universe. However, the ratio of the dark universe to the original universe is 1:10,000 times. So, if you want to travel quickly in the vast universe, it is most convenient to reach the speed of light and enter the dark universe." Babata looked at Rorschach and said, "I, Rorschach, have explained this knowledge to me before, but Luo Feng doesn't know about it, so I'll explain it again. In the original universe, matter cannot break through the speed of light. Once it reaches the speed of light, it will directly travel through the universe and reach the dark universe. In the dark universe, it can break through the speed of light. Rorschach's divine speed domain, to be precise, should be the wind divine speed domain. This is the top domain in the law of wind, and it is also under the law of time. It is a powerful domain second only to the time domain. It can allow Rorschach to be in the original field. After the universe reaches the speed of light, it still stays in the original universe. This realm is very powerful. But reaching the speed of light is very difficult, unless Rorschach can achieve immortality. Now the spacecraft is slowly accelerating. The maximum speed of He Longshan X-81 can reach 5 times the speed of light. However, from the perspective of energy saving, 2 times the speed of light is just right. It is estimated that it will take 10 days from Earth to reach the Horned Dragon. During this time, you can have a good rest or practice." Luo Xia and Luo Feng nodded, and did not choose to rest, but entered the virtual space to practice. At the same time, in a starry sky area very close to the solar system, the silver-gray spaceship was flying towards the Earth unwaveringly. On the spaceship, the captain stood in front of the control console, and beside him, there was a crew member who looked like a chimpanzee. The crew member was extremely strong and sturdy. He looked at the captain worriedly and said, "Captain, your family fleet has now arrived in the void area. At that time, will the family snatch the captain's interests? Only a small share for the captain." Humph. The captain snorted coldly and said, "Although my relationship with my grandfather is a bit stiff, I believe that my grandfather is not that kind of person." The chimpanzee man said, "But this is a life planet after all. Although we haven't seen this planet yet, we can't estimate its value. But if the legend back then is correct, this planet may have the inheritance and treasures left by that invincible strongman, and its value must be higher than that of an ordinary life planet. Captain, in the face of huge profits, brothers will kill each other. You have to be careful." The captain glanced at the crew member and saw his thoughts at a glance. He looked at the other crew members around him, smiled, and said, "Don't worry, no matter what, we can find this life planet because you and I have been through hardships and life and death together. I can guarantee that our adventurer team will benefit a lot." The crew smiled when they heard this. The captain continued, "Once we arrive at the life planet, we will immediately take samples and collect data. At that time, I will directly enter the virtual universe network to find buyers. The family can't be faster than us." He smiled confidently, "Everything is under my control. Thanks to the book friend. Before the 100 book coins. Thank you to the book friend for the 100 Kidian coins. Thank you very much. At the same time, thank you to all the readers who subscribed and voted. Thank you very much. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 129. Taiwan Novel Network. Rightward arrow. The days of flying in the dark universe are very boring. Diamond suit. Diamond suit. Fortunately, Rorschach and Luo Feng can enter the virtual space of Baba Tower to practice. In the virtual space, in addition to studying in the castle, the two will also fight on the virtual battlefield built by Babata with the same physical fitness. The days passed. 9 days later, Babata called Rorschach and Luo Feng out of the virtual space. Luo Xia, Luo Feng. The spacecraft will arrive at the Horned Dragon in 20 minutes. The two brothers nodded, indicating that they understood. Luo Feng asked, "Babata, you need to reach the speed of light to enter the dark universe, so how do you get out of the dark universe?" Babata smiled and explained, "It's very simple, just slow down to a standstill. It will automatically travel back to the original universe." "Is that so?" Luo Feng nodded. At this time, the spacecraft was gradually decelerating and soon reached a stationary state. Both Luo Xia and Luo Feng felt the spacecraft beneath their feet shaking slightly. It took more than 10 seconds for everything to calm down. Babata reminded, "The space shuttle is successful and we have returned to the original universe. Do we need to start the location simulation?" "Turn it on, 100%, Rorschach said. Babata nodded and started the location simulation. The command room gradually disappeared, and in the sight of Luo Xia and Luo Feng, a planet with colored light all over the world appeared. There were 2 satellites around this planet. Babata said, "The planet you are seeing now is the Horned Dragon planet. After entering the Horned Dragon planet, you follow the plan I told you and pretend to be the children of a strong boss. This can avoid a lot of trouble." Luo Feng spread his hands and said, "Babata, your plan is very good, but we have no money. I heard you say before that entering the planet requires money. Zioxia and I just came out of the Earth, where did we get the cosmic currency? You don't have it, I do, Bobita chuckled and glanced at Rorschach. Besides, Rorschach is already a star and can inherit one of the 3 accounts left by the master. Luo Feng scratched his head and said with a smile, if you didn't tell me, I would have forgotten the account number left by teacher Hu Yanbo. Rorschach said, so we will go to the bank first. No, 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 before you go to the bank, you should solve the identity problem first. You know, you two are now blackmailers in the universe. Bobita pointed at the Horned Dragon Star. Do you know why I asked you to come to the Horned Dragon Star first? Because it belongs to the Black Dragon Mountain Empire, and you can directly join the nationality of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire. This is much better than joining the Silver Blue Empire. Rorschach asked, Bobita, you need money to apply for identification, right? Don't worry, I have it here. Although it's not much, it's enough for the 2 of you. Bobita patted his chest. I found 932 dry witch coins in the storage space. 932 yuan, Luo Feng blinked, is such a small amount of money really enough? Bobita put his hands on his hips and said, this is a dry witch coin, not a black dragon coin, and it is not a cheap silver blue coin. 1 dry witch coin can be exchanged for 1,000 black dragon coins. You just need to get an identity certificate, it is enough. As he spoke, the Black Dragon spacecraft accelerated and flew towards the Horny Dragon star in the distance. The atmosphere of Horny Dragon is very peculiar. You can clearly see the slowly flowing air masses of various colors with the naked eye, making the entire planet look like the ambient lighting in a bar, which is very interesting. Beep. The traction signal has been received, Bobita said. The spacecraft will follow the traction signal and arrive at the planet's parking port. The Black Dragon spacecraft penetrated the atmosphere, and through the virtual scene, Luo Xia and Luo Feng saw a huge silver city below. This is an extremely vast port of call. It can be seen that densely packed various spaceships, large and small, are shuttled and parked in it. Both Luo Xia and Luo Feng were a little dazzled. Received the signal, let's go to the sea level area, Bobita said on the console screen. She explained to Rorschach and the others while controlling the spacecraft to fly towards the sea level area. In the A-level area, ordinary spaceships, battleships, etc. are parked. In the B-level area, B-level spacecraft and warships are parked. Our Helongshan X-81 is a sea-level spacecraft, so it is parked in the sea-level area. The huge docking port is divided into several areas. Those parked in the sea-level area are very expensive spaceships and battleships. Call. Under the guidance of the traction signal, the Black Dragon Mountain spacecraft arrived at an empty location in the sea-level area and landed slowly. The hatch opens. Luo Xia and Luo Feng flew out of the spacecraft together. The gravity here is about 3 times the gravity of the Earth, Luo Feng said. At this time, a green-skinned man wearing a gray uniform, about 2 meters tall and with 2 curved horns on his head flew over. With a smile on his face, he said humbly and politely in fluent universal language. Dear sir, welcome to Kailong planet. The parking price for your Helongshan X-81 spacecraft is 600 Black Dragon coins per year. If it is less than 1 year, it will be charged at 600 Black Dragon coins. This is your parking card. The strong man said as he handed a silver translucent card in front of Luo Feng and Luo Xia. There was a C mark on the card. Rorschach took out a dry witch coin from the storage space, threw it to the green-skinned man, and said in a very fluent and standard universal language, no need to change. The green-skinned man's eyes lit up and he took it happily, the witch coins. This dry witch coin is a status symbol in the territory of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire. He looked at Luo Feng and Luo Xia with envy, and murmured to himself, the spaceship they were traveling on was the luxury Black Dragon Mountain X-81, and they used dry witch coins. These two people must have great backgrounds. Thank you, gentlemen, I wish you both a pleasant stay on the Horned Dragon. The green-skinned man thanked him respectfully, then turned and left. At this moment, a spaceship dyed with a strange pattern of alternating black and white landed on the land not far from Luo Feng and Luo Xia. Luo Xia and Luo Feng looked over curiously. The hatch opened, and a fat young man with black hair flew out first. This young man has two purple spots on his face, his eyes are a bit small, and he is about the same height as Luo Feng. He looks quite cute. Behind the fat young man, four big men as strong as chimpanzees came out. Babata told Luo Xia and Luo Feng, the fat man is at the third level of planetary level, and the four people behind him are all at the stellar level, three of them are at the third level of the stellar level, and one is at the eighth level of the stellar level. Luo Xia and Luo Feng were secretly surprised. The four stars behind him looked like Fatty's bodyguards. What kind of identity does this fat man have to have four stars as bodyguards? Holy shit, suddenly, the fat man's eyes lit up and he looked at Luo Xia and the others and shouted. Of course he didn't say holy shit, but that's roughly what it meant when translated. I saw this fat man flying in front of the Black Dragon Mountain spaceship, as if he had seen a peerless beauty, stroking the hull of the spacecraft intoxicatedly, his eyes shining, and screaming. Holy shit! This is an old model from more than 1,000,000 years ago, Black Dragon Mountain X-81. This is a collection-level spaceship. How come it is here? My grandfather is still made of pure black yttrium metal. Such luxury. I didn't expect that I, Gao Shenwei Di, could see such a spaceship here. He continued to marvel, then came to Luo Xia and Luo Feng, and said familiarly, hey, two brothers, when you don't want this X-81 spacecraft, how about you sell it to me? 10 years later, I can afford it? After he finished speaking, he added in hindsight, oh, I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Gao Shenwei Di. You can just call me Gao Sheng. Luo Xia also introduced himself, this is my eldest brother Luo Feng. Luo Feng looked at Gao Sheng, and according to what Babata told him, he smiled and said, our spaceship has been modified and repaired before it can be flown. Now we are reluctant to sell it. Gao Sheng smiled and said, haha, if you want to repair an old antique from 1,000,000 years ago, it is no easier than buying a new one. You brothers are really like-minded people. Only by flying this kind of collectible spaceship can you have more dignity. After he finished speaking, he looked behind Luo Xia and Luo Feng and asked curiously, Brother Luo Xia, Brother Luo Feng, are you just two people coming to the Horned Dragon planet? Without bodyguards? Only the Horned Dragon city is protected in this Horned Dragon star. It's easy to meet robbers outside the city. Luo Xia and Luo Feng looked at each other and smiled. Immediately afterwards, the storage space opened, and two liquid silver guards in black uniforms appeared behind them. As for the other Liuyan guard, Luo Xia was left at home to protect Luo Hongguo and the others. Gao Sheng was startled again when he saw the two liquid silver guards. Damn, liquid silver guards. He nodded and continued, these liquid silver guards are indeed much stronger than ordinary bodyguards. One can provide protection, and the other can entangle the enemy. Gao Sheng looked at Luo Xia and Luo Feng, and saw that they were from the Black Dragon Mountain X-81 spacecraft and were guarded by Liuyan. He wanted to make friends and said, if you two brothers don't dislike it, just come with me. I have the right with 4 bodyguards here, no one will cause trouble. Babata said, promise him. This guy can have 4 stellar bodyguards and his identity is not simple. If you follow him, you will have less trouble. Luo Xia and Luo Feng nodded. Luo Feng said, then let's go together. Whoosh whoosh. Rorschach and the others jumped into the air, followed by 4 bodyguards. They flew high into the air, and their armor immediately emerged to protect their bodies. Brothers, how much did you spend on the Black Dragon spacecraft? Flying in the air, Gao Sheng couldn't help but ask. As a spaceship enthusiast, I really want to know more about such an old antique as He Longshan X-81. Tell him that it cost 9 billion Black Dragon coins and 2 billion Black Dragon coins for modification and repair. Babata said. Luo Feng was surprised, so many? Is it a lot? Not much. You have to know that this spaceship is like a luxury product made of pure gold on Earth. Pure black yttrium metal is worth 3,000 Black Dragon coins per ton, and the weight of the spacecraft is 2 million tons. More than 91 billion is not much at all. Babata explained. Luo Feng nodded secretly, and then said to Gao Sheng, our Black Dragon spaceship cost 9 billion Black Dragon coins to buy, and then spent more than 2 billion on modifications and repairs. After hearing this, Gao Sheng nodded repeatedly and said enviously, you guys have made a small profit. This kind of old antique is basically unavailable now. Fortunately, in 10 years, I will have money to buy it. Rorschach was curious, why wait until 10 years later? Gao Sheng explained, because my father promised me that he would not transfer a planet to my name until 10 years later. He counted with his fat fingers, there are more than 11 billion people on the planet. By rough calculation, each of them can earn me 100 Caro coins per year on average, which is 0.6 Black Dragon coins. The annual income is also 600 million. With many Black Dragon coins, it is not difficult to borrow 20 billion Black Dragon coins based on one planet. Luo Xia and Luo Feng looked at each other. Both of them still had smiles on their faces, but they were quite shocked in their hearts. If people on a planet make money for him, isn't he the emperor of a planet? As a group of people flew in the sky, they could see clouds of various colors from time to time, which were very beautiful. It's so beautiful, Luo Feng sighed. Gao Sheng asked, is this the first time for the two brothers to come to the Horned Dragon Star? Luo Feng nodded, well, this is my first time here. Luo Xia added, we just heard that the scenery here is good, so we came here for a few days. Haha, indeed, the scenery of Chulong Star is very beautiful. Many strong people choose to settle here because of the beautiful scenery here. Gradually, Chulong Star becomes more and more prosperous because of the increasing number of strong people. Gao Sheng said. Suddenly, Luo Feng's eyes lit up and he looked towards a city in the distance. Gao Sheng noticed Luo Feng's gaze and said with a smile, brother Luo Feng is also greedy? Haha, that is a very luxurious residence on the Horned Dragon planet. The castle is nearly 10 kilometers long and wide. If you want to buy such a castle, you must not only to have an identity, you also need to have strength. Castle. Luo Feng was stunned. He thought it was a city for people to live in. I didn't expect it to be a castle. Babata said, it's normal in the universe. Like your teacher, my master, his residence is the entire falling ink star. While talking, they flew over a densely built area. Rorschach looked down and could see small castles one after another. It is said to be small, but its scale is not comparable to the luxury villas on the earth. It is simply like a small city. Gao Sheng knew that it was the first time for the two brothers to come to the Horned Dragon planet, so he took the initiative to introduce it. This is the cheapest residential property on the Horned Dragon Star. If it were in our Carlo Empire, even on the Imperial Capital planet, it would be sold for up to 1 billion Black Dragon coins. He cursed in a low voice, but on this Horned Dragon planet, you can sell it for tens of billions of Black Dragon coins. Rorschach blinked. Sure enough, real estate is a hugely profitable industry wherever it is placed. Luo Feng, Luo Xia, do you two brothers own real estate on the Horned Dragon planet? Gao Sheng suddenly asked. Luo Feng shook his head, no, my brother and I are still young. Ah, it seems we are all the same. Gao Sheng said with deep emotion, my father is the same. He said that I was still young and even kept the pocket money he gave me. Even if he gave me a planet, he would still have to wait 10 years for me to complete the adult ceremony. Just sent it. They flew all the way for another half hour. Finally, in Rorschach's field of vision, a huge city appeared. The walls of the city are as dark as ink, extending to the end of the field of vision, with no end in sight. On the top of the city wall, there are giant glazed dragons entrenched. When they got closer, they discovered that the so-called glazed dragon was a carving on the city wall. What a big city! Luo Xia and Luo Feng looked up at the tall, dark city wall with expressions of wonder. This city wall is at least 100 meters high. The thick and strong city wall has a vast and ancient atmosphere that is shocking. Gao Sheng said with a smile, "This Kaialong city has been standing on this land for more than 3 million years. Luo Xia touched his chin, looked at Qiulong city, and muttered secretly, "This is almost the same as what Babata said." Babata said, "Don't look at the entire universe from the perspective of people on Earth. You must know that in the universe, the existence time of many empires is calculated in billion years. More than 50,000 years is a long time for people on Earth. It's a long time, but for cosmic beings with long lifespans, 50,000 years is the same as the 5 or 6 years that have passed on your Earth." Luo Xia nodded and followed the steps of his elder brother and Gao Sheng towards the city gate. The gate of Kaialong city is very wide, and there is a steady flow of people coming and going. As soon as Luo Xia and the others entered the city gate, the intelligent communication device received the communication number from Kaialong city. With this communication number, you can send messages and make phone calls to each other in Kaialong city. Luo Feng, Luo Xia, what's your communication number? Let's save each other's communication number. I'm going to visit an elder later. If I have time in the evening, I'll treat you two brothers to dinner. Good. Luo Xia and Luo Feng nodded, and saved each other's communication numbers with Gao Sheng. Then I'll leave first. Gao Sheng smiled and waved, "See you later." After Gao Sheng left, Luo Xia and Luo Feng also walked into Kaialong city. The architectural style here is completely different from that on Earth, but Luo Xia and Luo Feng can still see the beauty contained in the architecture. In addition to buildings, they also saw various aliens. According to Babata, although the aliens on the Horned Dragon planet have different shapes, they are all various branches of the human race. 6th level of planetary level, 8th level of planetary level, 2nd level of stellar level, 6th level of stellar level, 3rd level of planetary level. Relying on the Baba Pagoda, Luo Xia and Luo Feng discovered that on the streets of Qiulong city, the strength of the pedestrians coming and going was not weaker than that of a planet. If they looked casually, they could find beings whose realm was higher than theirs. Luo Xia, Luo Feng, I have already called the planet service number to inquire. The administrative building of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire stationed on the Horned Dragon planet is about 200 kilometers away from here. Babata spoke out at this time. According to our plan, the first thing we do when we come to the Horned Dragon planet, is to join the Black Dragon Mountain Empire and obtain the status of a citizen. Walk. Luo Feng nodded, and he and Luo Xia soared into the air, reaching a distance of more than 200 meters. Then under Babata's guidance, the two brothers flew towards the administrative building. Not long after, they arrived at the administrative building where the Black Dragon Mountain Empire was stationed on the planet. There were two strong men nearly 6 meters tall guarding the entrance of the building. Their skin is bronze and they look like bronze statues. Luo Xia and Luo Feng landed at the door of the building and walked into the building with Liuyan guards. The guard at the door was very surprised when he saw the Liuyan guard. The status of a person who can have a Liuyan guard as a bodyguard is not ordinary. When Luo Xia and Luo Feng approached them, the two guards immediately greeted them warmly and respectfully, "Two gentlemen, please come in." After entering the building, Rorschach discovered that if he wanted to apply for nationality, he needed to go to the 32nd floor. "You guys sit on the round sofa over there, that's the elevator here." Babata pointed to the two brothers. Luo Xia and Luo Feng nodded and sat on the sofa. 32. After the number of floors was reported, the round sofa immediately rose into the sky, and not long after, it reached the 32nd floor. "Hello, gentlemen." A woman with rabbit ears, who was as beautiful as an elf from mythology, flew over, bowed slightly to Luo Xia and Luo Feng, and asked with a smile, "How can I serve you?" "We want to join the nationality of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire," Luo Xia said with a smile. The woman with rabbit ears was stunned and looked at Luo Feng and Luo Xia in surprise. "Join the nationality of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire? Are there any people without nationality these days?" Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 130. The receptionist woman was stunned for a moment, but she was very professional. She immediately smiled and guided her. "Two gentlemen, please go to the left, which is the second to last room in the innermost room." "Thanks." Luo Xia thanked him and walked inside with Luo Feng and the Liuyan guards. The reception woman's eyes were shining, and she secretly said in her heart, "She actually said thank you to a receptionist like me." It seemed that these two people should be truly educated children of a big family. Although they were accompanied by two silver guards, they didn't have a trace of arrogance. There are many rooms on the 32nd floor, and each room can handle different procedures and documents. Luo Xia and Luo Feng walked and looked all the way until they came to the penultimate room mentioned by the receptionist woman. The liquid silver guard stepped forward and knocked on the door. "Please come in." A sonorous and powerful voice came from the room. Luo Feng walked in the front and Luo Xia walked in the back. This is a very spacious room with two staff members. They are both black-skinned, extremely lean men with blood-red eyes. At first glance, it looks a lot like the dark elves in Earth fantasy novels. The two staff members glanced at Luo Feng and Luo Xia casually at first, but then they noticed the Liuyan guards following Luo Feng and Luo Xia. Their expressions suddenly changed and became warm and friendly. One of them smiled and asked, "Gentlemen, how can I serve you?" Luo Feng smiled and said, "We hope to join the Black Dragon Mountain Empire citizenship." Another person asked, "Oh? I don't know what nationality the two gentlemen were before. Is there any release procedure for the original nationality?" "My brother and I are both stateless," Luo Feng said. Stateless, the two staff members were obviously stunned for a moment. They looked at Luo Feng and Luo Xia carefully, then looked at the Liuyan guard, and thought to themselves, "The person who can be protected by Liuyan cannot be an ordinary person. But they have no nationality. So it can only mean that the two young people in front of me are probably elites trained by a certain force, and now they are entering the world for the first time." Thinking of this, one of the staff members said to Luo Xia and Luo Feng, "Two gentlemen, please stand here and don't move. We need to authenticate your words." "Okay." Luo Feng and Luo Xia both nodded. The staff member immediately pressed the instrument on his arm, and with a beeping sound, two misty lights enveloped Luo Feng and Luo Xia. Immediately afterwards, the instrument on the arm made two more sounds. The staff member lowered his head and looked at the instrument screen, which displayed two lines of text in universal language. "No such person found." So the staff member nodded to the other staff member. The staff member immediately said to Luo Xia and Luo Feng, "Since these two gentlemen have never joined any nationality, many steps can be omitted directly. You two only need to pay 50 Black Dragon coins each, and you can handle our affairs, the nationality of the Black Dragon Mountain Empire." Rorschach flipped his hand and threw a dry witch coin over. Dry witch coins. When the staff member saw the dried witch coins, his eyes suddenly lit up, and he took them happily. Then he took out the special banknotes as thin as cicada wings from his arms, calculated them, and handed them to Luo Xia respectfully. "Sir, this is for you. 900 yuan Black Dragon coin." The next thing went smoothly. In less than 20 minutes, Luo Xia and Luo Feng got their identity documents. Since then, Luo Xia and Luo Feng have left records on the Black Dragon Mountain Empire's citizen system. The two brothers are finally no longer gangsters in the universe. Next, let's get the account given by the teacher first, Luo Feng asked Luo Xia and Babata after walking out of the administrative building. Let's go take a look at the account the master left for you first. Hee, you can look forward to it. Babata said with a smile on his face and pointed to Luo Feng and Luo Xia, you go this way. In 100 kilometers, you will find the branch of Universe Galaxy Bank on the Horned Dragon. Luo Xia and Luo Feng flew towards the direction pointed by Babata. Not long after, they came to a huge and towering building. Its architectural style is very sci-fi and very luxurious. At first glance, two words come to mind, rich. Is this the branch of Universe Galaxy Bank? This is so arrogant. Rorschach looked at the giant building in front of him and said with great emotion. Babata crossed his hands, sat on Rorschach's shoulders, and said with a smile, after all, Universe Galaxy Bank is also one of the 5 dominant forces in the universe. Even if it is a branch, it must be built with a good reputation. Luo Feng asked, Babata, are the 5 overlords you mentioned more powerful than the kingdom of the universe? Babata nodded and said, that's natural. Even though the territories of advanced civilizations in the universe are spread across several star maps, the ones that are truly powerful are actually the Universal Galaxy Bank, the first bank of the universe, the Giant Axe Arena, the 5 giants are the Universe Mercenary Alliance and the Virtual Universe Company. Universal Galaxy Bank and First Bank of the Universe are all doing business for rich people. Even immortal level experts will store their money and treasures in these 2 banks. The Giant Axe fighting field is the fairest fighting field. You can get to know it slowly in the future. The Cosmic Mercenary Alliance is a loose organization, but despite their looseness, more than 99% of the spiritual masters and warriors in the universe will choose to join them. Your teacher was also a member of them back then. The virtual universe of Virtual Universe Company can be called the second world of mankind. They have branches in various universe countries, and no one can shake them so far. When you get the account left by the master, you still have to go here. Open an account at the Virtual Universe branch, otherwise it will be very inconvenient to walk in the universe in the future. Under Babata's explanation, Luo Xia and Luo Feng had a relatively superficial understanding of the 5 major forces in the universe. At this time, they had arrived at the branch of Universe Galaxy Bank. There are so many people coming here to do business that you even have to queue up. Brother, you go sit on the sofa over there and I'll line up. Luo Xia saw that there were dozens of people lined up in front of him and could not reach them for a while, so he said to Luo Feng. Good. Luo Feng nodded, walked to the sofa aside and sat down. Rorschach continued to line up. Half an hour passed before we arrived at Rorschach. Sir, it's your turn, please come with me. The bank service staff looked very humble and politely led the way, taking Rorschach to a reception room. I want to transfer money. Rorschach said to the operator in the reception room. The operator inside showed a sweet smile and asked, what is your account number? Account Babata had already told Rorschach. With his memory, he would not forget it, so he immediately said, 8492 minus 8593 woh minus 8528 minus 5285 minus 032. This account can be obtained at the star level. The money in it is probably the least among the 3 accounts. But Hu Yanbo was not a strong one among the immortal level strongmen during his lifetime. Even if he lost a hair on his legs, they would still be thicker than ordinary people. Please wait. The operator started the operation and then waited for the transmission response from the Virtual Universe network. Sudden. The operator's eyes widened, as if he had seen a ghost, and he was extremely shocked. This is. She glanced at Rorschach in horror, and then said with a slightly trembling voice, Dear guest, Please wait a moment, I will inform the president. She said and ran out quickly. The ninth floor of the Kailongxing branch of Universe Galaxy Bank. Felt, the branch president, was dealing with a 2-star customer. This customer came from a big family, and the 2-star account in his hand was obviously given by the elders of the family, but Felt did not dare to neglect him and accompanied him with a smile and humility throughout the process to handle the business. Wow! At this moment, the door to the reception room was suddenly opened. The 2-star customer looked toward the door dissatisfied, and branch manager Felt also looked over angrily. Don't you know he's entertaining important clients? Why are you so frizzy? What's going on? Felt asked in a dissatisfied tone. The person who opened the door was the branch's deputy president, Korabi. After he opened the door, he kept winking at Felt. Felt was stunned for a moment, then frowned. He glanced at the 2-star customer, not caring about his dissatisfaction, and quickly stood up and saluted, "Ms. Laura, please wait a moment. Judging from the appearance of Koalabi, it seems that our branch has encountered something that has to be needed. Go to my business." With that said, without waiting for the 2-star customer to respond, he walked straight out the door and closed the door behind him. Korabi, what's going on? Felt glared at the vice president. Don't you know I'm entertaining an important 2-star customer? If she is dissatisfied, she will no longer handle savings business in our bank. That's the loss of our universe's galactic banks. I know Koalabi was sweating profusely, but the things on my side are bigger. Felt was startled. What's going on? Koalabi glanced at the surveillance camera not far away and said, President, this matter needs to be discussed in the confidential room. Secret room? Felt immediately narrowed his eyes and went to the secret room with Korabi. This secret room is protected from eavesdropping. Even an immortal level expert cannot hear the conversation inside from the secret room. We can talk now. Felt looked at Korabi and said in the secret room. Koalabi whispered, there is a customer below who wants to withdraw money and transfer money. The account he wants to withdraw money from, is a 5-star account. Felt's face turned pale when he heard this. 5-star account? Oh my god. It is extremely rare for branch presidents of the Universe Galaxy Bank on many planets to occasionally come across a 1-star account. A branch manager like him in Kailongxing could occasionally meet a 2-star customer. But they may never see an account with 3 stars or above once in their lifetime. Now there is actually a 5-star account owner who comes to his branch to handle business. Are you sure it's a 5-star account? Felt asked in disbelief. What is the concept of 5-star account? For customers who have a 5-star account, buying planets is like buying sugar pills. An elementary civilized country like the Silver Blue Empire is like an ant in front of guests with 5-star accounts. Even the advanced civilizations in the universe would not dare to neglect such a big shot. Of course, I don't dare to lie. Koalabi broke out in a cold sweat. Now the control of the entire bank has been transferred and controlled by intelligence. Our every word and deed is also completely monitored. If we were talking about 5-star customers in the confidential room just now, the bank's intelligence will kill us instantly. Felt also wiped the cold sweat from his forehead. The Universe Galaxy Bank, a super large bank, absolutely puts customers first. Especially 5-star customers. Their money is stored in the Universe Galaxy Bank, and the bank uses it for turnover, generating huge profits every day. Once the secrets of such customers are leaked, even if a planet is destroyed to ensure that the customer's secrets will not be leaked, the Universe Galaxy Bank will not blink an eye. That's why Koalabi took Felt into the confidential room. In the reception room below, Rorschach waited boredly, and he had expected the reaction of the bank operator. After all, this is an account left by an immortal level strongman. Could it be an ordinary account? Rorschach didn't wait long, and Felt, as the branch manager, walked into the reception room respectfully and respectfully invited Rorschach out. Dear guest, "Hello, I am the president of this branch, Felt. Please follow me." Rorschach nodded and left with the chubby president. Led by Felt, Rorschach came to the 13th floor of the bank building. Beep. "Dear guest," a crisp voice sounded from the mouth of a metal robot. "Cosmic Galaxy Bank, welcome you." Rorschach looked at the robot, and then looked at the branch manager who was slowly retreating. Is he planning to use the robot to receive him? He asked Bobita with his consciousness. Is there someone behind this robot controlling it? Bobita nodded and smiled. Yes. After all, the owner's account is 5-star. This branch manager is not qualified to receive him at all. The person who is controlling this robot now should be a staff member of the headquarters of the Cosmic Galaxy Bank. Interesting. Rorschach smiled and followed the robot to a gorgeous reception room. Dear sir, I want to confirm with you again, are you going to transfer money from the account 8492-8593 -8528-5285-032? After Rorschach sat down on the comfortable sofa, the metal robot asked Rorschach respectfully. Rorschach nodded, that's right. I don't want to bother you. Please help me open a new account at your bank. I will transfer the money to the new account later. The metal robot nodded, I understand. The information about opening a new account has been sent to the president of this branch. He will send your bank card soon. Then, the robot said to Rorschach, now, sir, please use your mental power to scan my arm touch panel. A strange black and gold touch panel suddenly extended from the metal robot's arm. Rorschach glanced at the black and gold touch panel and nodded. Bobita had already told Rorschach about the specific operation steps. He moved his mind and his mental power immediately scanned the touch panel. Beep. The data matches. The metal robot said, please enter the triple four-dimensional band password. Dear guest, you can choose to enter by mind, voice, or manual input. The triple four-dimensional band password is very complicated. It is constantly changing according to the time and space coordinates. Rorschach had to calculate the password at this time based on the original password, the spatial coordinates, and the level of telekinesis in this time period. And this password has 3 levels. Fortunately, this was not a difficult task for Rorschach. With Bobita's assistance, he quickly entered the correct password with his mind. The password is correct. The metal robot sounded a prompt. Then, Rorschach saw a virtual screen pop up on his arm guard, and on this screen was the content in the account. Check the balance. Rorschach made an instruction in his mind. The next second, a long string of 0 appeared on the screen. Tens of millions, it turned out to be 10 billion? And it's dry witch coins. Rorschach was a little surprised. This is just a star-level account. Is there so much money? These 10 billion dry witch coins can still be converted into 10 trillion black dragon coins. With such wealth, even a cosmic-level strongman would have to sell several planets to make up for it. Bobita said at this time. The master thought that he would only find one successor on Earth, but he didn't expect that you and your brother had good spiritual talents. He only prepared 10 billion, which should be enough for one disciple to make a living. However, 5 billion each for you and your brother should be enough. After all, it is good for the direct disciples of those big families to get 100 million Wu coins. Rorschach nodded. A rich kid like Gauss Hungwady would have to wait 10 years before he could get a life planet, and he dared not sell it. The wealth he and his elder brother got was amazing enough. As he spoke, the door of the reception room opened, and the branch manager Felt respectfully walked in with a golden plate containing a bank card. Dear Mr. Rorschach, this is the bank card you applied for in our bank. Please use the spiritual imprint to bind it. Rorschach picked up the bank card, scanned it with his spiritual power, and imprinted his spiritual imprint. From now on, this bank card can only be used by Lotus Ya. Even if others find his bank card, they cannot use it. Babata, please inform my eldest brother and ask him to apply for a bank card, and then I will transfer the money to him. Rorschach said. Babata nodded, I have informed him. Rorschach then looked at the robot in the reception room and said, please transfer all the 10 billion Wu coins in your account to my current bank card. Okay, dear guest. The metal robot nodded and completed the operation in a short time. Rorschach also said goodbye to the metal robot and left the reception room. The branch manager was waiting outside. When he saw Rorschach come out, he immediately accompanied him respectfully until he sent Rorschach to the lobby on the first floor, and then turned around and left. Luo Feng also got a bank card at this time. He came to Luo Xia and asked curiously, Xiao Xia, how much money did the teacher leave for us? 10 billion dry witch coins, Luo Xia said with a smile, brother, I will transfer 5 billion. But Luo Feng shook his head and said, put the money in your bank card. I will tell you what you need to buy. Give me 5 billion. When the time comes, if there is not enough money to buy something, it will be troublesome to transfer it back and forth. Hearing this, Luo Xia nodded and asked, where are we going now? Babata said, of course, we are going to the Virtual Universe Network Company to open an account. So Luo Xia and Luo Feng flew to the Virtual Universe Network Company again.